Take it away.
Call to order the Stormwater Bylaw Working Group meeting for July 8th, 2025. Do we have a quorum? Yeah.
I
Okay.
believe so.
Let's do roll call. Hold on this. All right, doing the list. John Salo.
Here.
Josh Levy.
Here.
Sue Barber.
Here.
Janine Heller.
Here.
Preston Hall. Tom Ryder.
Here.
Deb Anderson.
Yeah.
Trip Pace. Joe Klondike.
Yeah.
And Joe, hey, there you are. There you go. Great. All right, next we have to pass some minutes, and we have the minutes from 7/2.
Couldn't find a thing.
Okay.
So, what's that you?
Okay.
2 weeks in a row.
Does anyone wish to make a motion?
Who would like
So
to make a
moved.
motion to pass it?
So moved, all right.
Joe. Moves, and who seconds?
I second that emotion.
All right, let's do a roll call vote. Say yay or nay. John Salo,
Yay.
Josh.
Aye.
Yeah, there you go. Sue Barber, Janine,
Yay.
Tom,
Yay.
Deb,
The yays have it.
and Joe.
Yay.
All right, and chair votes aye. All right, there we go. We've passed the minutes. Next up on the agenda is get to it.
Drum roll.
I have the agenda. Oh, please let me
Yeah,
share.
we've got the draft bylaw review with finished remaining comments in section 7:10 and 7:11. And
I just need
definitions.
to- I need to share the
You have a
screen
lot.
because somehow the guys and gals online can't read my mind.
And then we do have coming up the committee boards, the bylaw feedback. Oh, but from the meeting, we're gonna do that too afterwards.
Huh?
From our
The
meeting
great
yesterday?
staff meeting,
Oh, yeah. We'll do that as well. Yes, let me.
the convocation of staff.
Mhm.
Let me hide this. Okay.
It was almost an all-out brawl.
Was that good?
We're a very passionate
Rage
bunch.
match.
Yeah,
We're a
All
passionate
right.
bunch, that's for sure.
So let's,
Okay, so can people see my screen online? Yes, you can, and you should probably have it a little bit bigger. So you can actually see what we're talking about. So we have called to order. We've accepted the meetings, the draft bylaw review, and the committee feedback schedule. And the presentation packet review. And we also had a meeting yesterday, an internal meeting with staff on three different boards to coordinate, because we are all sort of interconnected to each other.
Right.
So the Stormwater Bylaw Committee, our working group was the topic, the Tree Bylaw Committee was a topic, and the Large House Review was a topic. So there were members from each part, each initiative, I guess.
okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so of course we went first because I'm a big mouth, and so we described it, we went through and spent probably a good 40 minutes on it.
I know.
Because it was just so much to go over, but I basically gave them a timeline of what we were planning to do, what we have recommended to do, things we're trying to incorporate, give them an idea. And there were some discussions around its effect on the tree bylaw,
Okay.
what it potentially would be, its effect on a large house review, if any, if there would be any there, and what considerations might need to be taken into account, and if the changes would have any impact on any of those other bylaws.
It seems like we're furthest along of.
We seem to
all
be the
groups.
first to go, so we're the first ones that are gonna be ready to go. Next up is probably gonna be the large house group, and then the
Okay.
tree bylaws probably, they're aiming for spring of 26. I don't see it happening till 27, but that's their lofty goal right now. They're kind of where we were last July, where we're like, we'll get this done in 6 weeks. Yahoo!
Yes, I wanted to ask about the regulation timeline, because you gave it like a week.
It's not a week. It is, we do technically have the full up until the end of August. And I'll explain. I
Okay.
actually put together another document, which I will call up because
Well, what was the intersection of trees and us?
so basically the concerns were if they have on a tree bylaw, like, are they going to, with the stormwater, if we're requesting or requiring more infiltration or
Right.
requiring put in more or do more? Is that gonna mean that they have to remove trees in order to put the infiltration in? What does that mean? What impact would that have? So,
Yeah.
yes, some of the questions
Right.
didn't necessarily. I shouldn't say make sense, because it makes sense to ask the question. It wasn't. It wasn't saying that stormwater would trump a tree bylaw.
Right, yeah.
It would be like on a case by case basis. If
Yeah.
you have a major
We don't-
tree in your yard in the way, there might be a determination that you can't fit whatever it is we're trying to do, but there are other options like a rain garden
Or
or other
like
things.
putting a drainage system under your driveway, like it doesn't
Or-
have to go under a
Yeah.
tree.
Exactly. Well, because they're,
Like, it's
because
gonna
the
be hard to do
original.
a test pit where the tree is.
Exactly.
Right.
The original is sort of safe, like you have to put like at the four corners of your house or something. So if you have a tree, or if you have to put it, you're putting it at the corner of your house or something. And the tree that your neighbor has is so close, that's,
Right.
that was the large house, is so close, their roots are now underneath where you need to put this thing. Are you gonna have to take the tree down, or is it gonna kill the tree because you
Yeah.
put this thing in? You know, like, yeah, not really.
I think they were barking up the wrong tree.
Ha, ha,
Okay.
ha. That was very, very wishy of you.
Wait so long to say.
Oh, it's at the end of the
He's been
day.
saving it for months. No, just kidding. Okay,
Okay,
So
so
those
the,
two groups actually charged with producing a bylaw?
No,
yes. Well,
the trees, they don't know if there's gonna be a.
they don't,
bylaw.
they're
I mean,
kind of
yeah,
Did they
assessing.
get that charge from the select board?
if need,
It's part of it, and there's a kind of a feeling that there has to be some component that's in the bylaw. Like, I don't know. Yeah,
We don't know if it's gonna be a standalone tree bylaw necessarily, a tree ordinance or
Yeah,
something,
or-
but they're contemplating all legal ramifications of it as well. We know that there have been some issues in other communities. Cambridge, I think, had an issue recently and they mentioned something briefly about, I want to say like Wellesley or Natick or something, I can't remember the town that they were talking about. So Chris was looking into possible, like how they could structure something that's specific enough to be effective, but not
Private property.
private property and all that other
okay,
fun detail. So it's to be determined if there's actually gonna be a bylaw with that. And the large tree review is,
Large house.
large house review, sorry, large.
but
house
tree
review.
house.
Large
Yeah,
tree
that's
house.
really, that's Swiss Family Robinson, right?
No, large house review.
I love that. at
I think
Disney.
is
That's like my
it's more of a
favorite.
regulation, it's not a bylaw. It's a something like that, isn't it? Or is it an actual bylaw?
I don't know.
They're considering a revisions to the zoning bylaw.
Right,
Revisions in the zoning, okay.
Oh, okay.
What would the goal be otherwise with the tree, committee outside of the bylaw?
Like education and more plantings and tree surveys.
I think we were like defining what public trees are versus private trees, those kinds of things. I don't know, but I would presume that's what it would be about.
And I guess my question is, for instance, okay, so say if they're not going to cover, issues of, clearing lots, did we cover that?
Well, no, so here's the thing, it was a very, I wanna say wide consensus that, stormwater should. Or at least I got the impression, Joe, tell me if you're wrong, if you think I'm wrong, but I get the impression that it's sort of a stormwater is stay in your lane. Type conversation more than anything,
Mhm.
like we could have some input to when they come to a decision as to what they're gonna put in their information, in their bylaw, but, you should kind of stay out of the stormwater bylaw.
Mhm.
Kind of, yes. But after digesting what was said at the meeting, I do have a suggestion on trees
oh, yeah,
Sure.
that I can either offer now or offer later when we get to it.
Okay,
do it now, yeah, I mean,
yeah, I mean, you can do it now.
So,
we're-
I mean, so I've been not a fan of putting trees into the stormwater bylaw because we kind of don't know enough about trees to put in anything specific, and to put in something general would be very could be very confusing and inconsistent. So, but after hearing that, trees are going to be quite a ways down the road likely, and may not even address private property when they're done. We just don't know. Large house does seem to be, considering if they, for example, if they increase required setbacks, will that help the tree situation? And the thought from Ed Olson was certainly, yes, anything helps. So my thought was, despite my opposition, I will state that I am a lover of trees. So I'll start with that.
Mhm.
So my thought, just to have something, would be to say something like, in the absence of any other bylaw or regulation, the applicant shall plant 2 or 3 4-inch caliber trees for every underground containment tank. Something along those lines. So we have something in there that conservation has their own laws, so they can specifically mandate stuff for trees.
What
And
if they
then-
don't remove a tree?
What?
They don't remove any trees to build whatever they're building? Do they still have to plant something, or is this only to replace if they?
No, this is just, I would suggest just a mandatory, because for every tank that you put in to capture water, you also have to plant 2 or 3 trees, whatever number we feel is appropriate. That way,
On
it's
your
a
property?
specific requirement. We don't have to put Tom or I in a judgment situation. Well, how do we handle this? What should we require of them? They're taking down this tree. There's so many variables. And if we just had one specific requirement, at least we're doing something about trees while the tree committee and the large house review committee are working out their stuff. And then if in the end, when they do nothing with private property,
Yeah.
then we can go back and revise this bylaw to maybe
Yeah.
more for trees. So
So
anyway,
devil's advocate, can I
that's my
ask a-
thought. I don't know what everybody else thinks about that.
Yeah, so the big mouth silent partner here has a question. Can I ask a devil's advocate question?
Yes.
If we, put in that you have to put in 2 or 3 trees, whatever it is, or plant a tree or whatever, we have a requirement. Aren't we kind of stepping foot into a problem area where we're not specifying what types of trees? Like, what if they put in a
It would
palm
have to be
tree?
a
that
native
dies? What
tree.
if it's a,
It would be a native tree.
okay, well, I'm just saying, if we just say you have to plant 2 or 3 trees, what if they put in
You could specify.
an
that
invasive
without
tree or
getting
something? Like,
too-
what's?
If we said like a 4-inch caliber and then maybe specified non-invasive. 4-inch caliber, non-invasive tree, something like that.
It would need to be 2.5-inch caliber,
What's
Okay.
that?
probably.
Okay,
I think
So I'm throwing that out as food for thought.
I really like it. I think it's defendable, something you defend, something you can count, and you just say, we're doing your trees.
Is it something that we put in the bylaw? Or is it something we put in the regulations, that you can,
In the bylaw.
the bylaw? Okay.
Also it would be kind of consistent if anyone wanted to look at the Conservation Commission's tree policy. Which, if one tree is removed, it has to be replaced with 2.5 caliber. And there's a list that they can go by, or 4 shrubs. Those are kind of the basics. And to have a basic, it would be consistent. I mean, there'd be consistency between the Conservation Commission jurisdiction and the town. I don't know.
What
Yeah,
happens if we put?
It's simple. I mean, to make
What,
it
so well,
simple.
what if we put it needs to be in, I want to say like in concert with, or following the same guidelines as is in that conservation regulations?
You could.
I'm just asking.
Yeah,
I'm
I don't-
just asking.
Something like that.
I think it's good to be
As
separate.
long as we keep it simple.
Yeah.
Keep in
Yes.
mind,
I'm just thinking because if they update theirs, then we have to go in and update our, and
Yeah.
you lose track of where
We're
it
gonna
is.
have to update ours anyway,
Yeah,
because we have an inch.
Well, I think it's a good basic guideline, if they remove one tree, I think Tripp was saying they pay $6,000 when they have to take down a tree in Wellesley. If they're gonna be removing a tree, to replace it with 2 or
Yeah.
4 shrubs, or just keep it to 2 trees.
Yeah, we're,
right, but then we have to worry, well, how many trees were there? How do we prove it? What size caliber do they count?
Yeah.
It's
Well, then,
Again,
in regulations could cover that.
trying to defend Tom and I
Yeah.
in our final determinations and issuing the permits to keep it very simple and
Yeah,
very
yeah,
rigid.
I have a
my
question.
observation. Yeah, go ahead, Janine. Go ahead.
Do we not think the tree committee will want to have buy-in or approval on the types of trees we're requiring, or was it like a case-by-case scenario? Do we not think that's gonna be a problem?
No, as long as we say native trees,
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think we're giving them a
There.
specific list. We're just saying
Right.
native, so.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and what I said in the beginning was the first sentence, in the absence of any other bylaw. So once a
Right.
bylaw is
Okay,
passed,
that covers us then, yeah.
then,
Yeah,
then the new bylaw takes precedence over what we said. We
So
don't
what
have to change
happens if
anything.
somebody, like, so at my house, years ago, I had to have trees trimmed, removed, like they were dead, dying, whatever, in my yard, but I have a large, like, I don't know, woods in between me and my neighbor behind me. But I removed probably 3 trees. I mean, how,
but
but
that
that's
would-
not
that
a
wouldn't trigger-
construction,
that wouldn't. trigger
Don't
the-
want to get into the tree removal.
right,
Yeah.
right.
It's just if you
So-
put a,
Only if you're doing construction, is this gonna
and
be a
putting
problem?
in a
If,
tank.
if you put in a tank, you gotta do 2 or 3 trees. If you put in 2 tanks, you gotta do 4 or 6 trees. If you put in 3 tanks and so on.
But that, Joe, is that just if you have to remove a tree in order to
No,
put in
no.
tank?
No.
Or this- okay.
Nope.
So if you already have a fairly tight lot and can
Yeah,
barely
yeah.
fit in but you can fit in the infiltration tank. Where are
So
you gonna
put-
put this tree?
Yeah.
In the
that's
front
fine.
It's a-
yard,
in the it's a sapling.
anywhere, anywhere, put it anywhere on the lot. It'll fit.
What I would add is that, it's so sad to see the big trees come down,
I know.
but I understand that they do. What's worse is that they're never replaced, and there have been new construction need them that now. All the trees go down, house goes up, and they never plant a tree.
Right,
And I
Right.
thought, well, I'm sure the new owners will plant a tree, 25 years later,
Mm.
there's still, well, huge house. I mean, the whole area is bald and
Yeah.
there are no trees. And at least here, we put in trees. The new owner could decide to turn the front lawn to a soccer field and cut down the trees, and that's fine. But at least there's some mechanism to start replacing some
Yeah,
trees
yeah, that's-
when there is none now. And there's a psychology of it, like someone buys a house, they won't plant a tree necessarily unless it's done for them. But if it's there, they'll keep it there forever.
well, with the builder, with
The builder puts
the
it in.
builder would have to.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think just have a basic, if you have to remove a tree, it's gotta be replaced by 2 native trees.
but here's tied
Yeah,
to the.
again, don't
Mhm.
put me and Tom in that. If the conservation wants to do that, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want Tom and I to be in that.
Just as about the.
Only if the stormwater, if they have stormwater
Right. issues.
tanks
Okay.
or what,
And it
infiltration
doesn't,
going.
so
Okay,
even if
Okay,
it's
okay, so it's gonna be related to the stormwater.
an
Okay.
addition or something.
If you
that
need
they're
a
putting
tank, if
stormwater,
you're putting
so
a
it
tank
doesn't
in.
matter size.
What
or
happens if they
what's
decide
happening.
not, or they don't have the ability to do tanks and they can only do like big rain gardens and other things that meet the same standards, but
I
it's not,
guess-
I mean, that's greenery, so
It's
it's green
greenery.
infrastructure.
Yeah, it works. I mean, the point is that they're
Does
not
that
putting a
count,
tank in, so
Joe?
we're fine.
That it wouldn't trigger it because it doesn't have it, you're not putting in a tank. I just don't wanna also encourage people to not do the infiltration tank and then put in like enormous rain gardens that don't get maintained. I'm just saying.
They only get to do the rain gardens if it's determined that they can't do
Yeah.
tanks.
Okay.
Oh. Tom, what was your term last meeting? Instead of best managing.
Stormwater control measure.
What about, if they had to remove a tree in order to put in infiltration unit? That's when they would have to replace.
We're saying that never
We're not le-
happens.
It rarely happens.
Why would that happen?
It doesn't happen often enough to make an impact.
Have you ever seen someone say in conservation, they have to remove a tree to put the infiltration with it?
No, yeah, no. No, but they go around it,
No,
with the construction itself.
I
that
like,
was-
I like Joe's idea.
I do too. I'm just trying to think of all the possible
Yeah.
arguments I'm gonna get a call.
A tank is though.
Don't overthink it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what's the definition of a tank though? You're talking about a system of infiltration units?
Yeah,
Like,
yes.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, we'll think about
Whether
how,
it's a tank or a dry well,
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll have to think about how to say that when we get to that,
Okay.
that statement in the bylaw. Okay.
That sounds good.
Just as a piece of information, I did put together this timeline for us.
Oh, yeah.
Because we need to stay in contact with these groups as well, so I wanted to have it written out to share with people. I've already shared it with Gabby, our sustainability coordinator,
and-
manager.
Something's, Trip is trying to,
Trip is trying to join. Oh, I'm sorry, did I not see it?
can't
Oh,
speak,
Trip would
and
be good
messaging
on-
won't work for me.
Oh, yes, he's here. Hold on, hold on. Hold, please. Hold, please. I'll be there in a second.
It's so good.
Hey, Trip.
Oh, good, he has his hand raised.
Yep, yep, he's coming. Hold on. Promote to panelist. You should be getting promoted now.
Hi, can you hear me now? Sorry, I'm late.
We can hear you now. I'm sorry. I didn't see, I was intrigued with the conversation and did not see you pop into the
No problem. I was trying to figure out myself.
waiting room. Do you have any comments on the tree portion?
No, I mean, Wellesley's got a great tree bylaw. I'm sure that the tree committee will come up with something great. I don't think that this is what we're necessarily here for, but I think it.
Do you see a problem with putting it in the bylaw, in our stormwater bylaw, that if you put in a tank, in an infiltration tank, you have to put in 2 trees?
I don't understand.
Oh.
Okay.
Want me
To
to
back-
run it by him again?
Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So
All
what
right.
I'm proposing is a simple, clear statement, that because we had this meeting with the tree bylaw committee and the some of the tree people and some of the large house people, and they're much further off than we are. So, and people, a lot of people want to see us deal with trees, although they're saying, stay in your lane. So I thought a very clear statement that says, in the absence of any other bylaw or regulation, the applicant shall plant 2 or 3, whatever the number is, 2.5-inch caliper trees for every tank that they put in. So we don't get into tree removal. We don't get into any of that. We just have that simple statement in there, and they can go anywhere on the property as long as you.
You're talking about like Coltex, so your reasoning is the more
A Caltech or a drywall. There's whatever the options are.
A system of infiltration units, like you could have like
yeah.
2
I don't have
locations.
an issue with it. I think it's great.
Wow.
Good.
Nice.
Look at that, Joe.
It makes
Well,
sense.
my
Bringing
mother,
endorsement.
my mother always
Jeez.
used to tell me, anytime you get a good idea, take a nap.
See you around.
All right, nodding off.
Okay, so we're gonna come back to that when we get to that paragraph or that
Chris
section. really
Heath's gonna
quick.
be surprised.
He has to do one more review on it. He'll be
I think that's
thrilled.
good. I think that would kind of cover base for us, I feel it is kind of our responsibility a little bit to do
And
something.
then once we have the tree bylaw, then that
Sure, we'll take over.
takes precedence over that, so it's fine. Okay,
Can
so
I
just
make one more comment before we move on?
sure.
Yeah.
You have to copy.
Katie King did bring up the point that she felt that, and you can maybe correct me a little bit, Kim or Tom. Katie felt very strongly, and Lee was in agreement with her. That
I was there too.
If the bylaw, if the regulation is not ready for town meeting, the bylaw will have a much lesser chance of passing.
Correct,
Yeah. Yeah, we are crank on that.
yes.
So I
Hence
just wanna-
hence the kind of development of this little timeline or expansion of this little timeline that I did before. And putting it sort of where we are now, okay? So first on the next, so it follows the little road here to Oz. So the first one is today, draft bylaw, document,
Yeah.
final editing. So we'll be done today.
We'll be done today.
Okay.
All right.
Hold on, let me make it bigger. This is in the way, yeah.
Are you having an eye test back there?
So the regulations is just gonna be
Oh,
easy
thank you.
sneaky and
That's
it's not
great.
gonna take us long.
It's not gonna be easy sneezy, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna make it happen. Positive thinking, Norman Vincent Peale, power of positive thinking, okay?
Oh, okay.
All right,
All right,
all right, so draft bylaw document, we're gonna finish it tonight.
yes.
Then, we're gonna make whatever Ed's finished thing, and by the 14th, I put the 14th just because that's next week. But I can do it as early as tomorrow if we're completely done. But, 14th of July, we send it out to the boards, committees, town council, whoever it is who needs to review it. They get a week to do it. I'm sorry, it's not
Yep.
that long, but they have till
Question.
Friday.
So they don't, so like the Conservation Commission doesn't need to review and discuss it at a meeting? Are we having like
I just need
individual
somebody-
commissioners?
They're not
No,
voting,
I
necessarily
just
voting
need
on
them, they're not voting on it or anything like that. I just need them to review. We're just basically asking them to look at it. Is there anything in here that like raises your hackles is what I'm.
So I
asking.
can send it out to the individual commissioners and they will give their feedback to me and then I will pass that on.
Sure,
Is that how that works?
That
'Cause
sounds
that's
great.
in between our two meetings.
that
so-
sounds great.
But
Oh.
just to you, they can't discuss.
Right,
But
right.
just any comments or thoughts that they have, if it's something they really like, something they really don't like, something that's, or think just anything that is like glaringly inaccurate or
Yeah,
Okay,
something
and
like
that
that.
way you consolidate it, so we don't have to be dealing with 15 different comments.
And just so they understand too, what's coming down the pike.
Okay.
Yeah.
Type thing. So if there's anything that you guys need to do on your end, as far as your regulations and bylaws, you are aware that it could be happening. in our
Right.
Okay,
mhm.
all right. So there's a week for that. And then this, while after I send that out on Monday, for everybody to have a full week to review it, although I'll probably send it out over the weekend. The stormwater regulations are the next thing that we're working on at our next meeting. We're starting it, we're hitting it hard, and I'm hoping we're gonna start with the draft and we're just gonna move things around, expand or edit based on what we have in the actual bylaw itself. This we have, in theory, until August 31st to finish.
Okay,
Our submission to get it on the warrant, thank you, on the warrant is September 9th. Now, in truth, would I love to say that we have something to give to the select board to look at the regulations at the select board hearing? Yes. Are we going to? Not likely. We can give them an example of what the draft looks like so far, but it is in edit mode and will be followed on after the passing of the bylaws.
Have we made edits to the regulation?
We haven't touched it.
Okay,
We just have the draft that was done in 2018 when it originally
Okay.
was.
right, okay.
So we're just gonna take that and we're going to work through the bylaw. What we just determined was all the key points and things we wanted to address and make sure that all the regulations speak to each of the bylaw points.
Right, okay.
Okay?
okay.
Okay. July 22nd is our select board hearing where we will be presenting after the flood study. So hopefully just a quick conversation and we need to go over the somewhere in here. We also need to go over the presentation really quick. So I'm hoping we can do that really quick.
Yeah,
So
are we like, is one person doing the presentation? We're just
Tom and
there?
I are doing it. You guys are
We're gonna
there?
have pom-poms?
Yeah.
Yes, right. You actually,
done
you're
this
gonna,
before.
you're
Yeah.
gonna dress as a woodland creature of some kind.
Love it.
Kevin's gonna be like a big tree.
Oh, boy.
John's gonna dress like an infiltration system of some kind.
Nice.
I'm not gonna be going.
Josh will be a stream.
Josh is gonna bring his kids and they're gonna play like they're on the screen. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
On this, I'm just thinking to simplify it, I know we're talking about pros and cons.
Mhm.
If we just stated the facts and let the readers come up with their conclusions and questions. In other words, and I know you don't want to get onto this yet, but
Yeah.
I don't see it anywhere else. Where a pro and con is really introduced, except for the first one.
Yeah.
Increase of exploitation for one, but it may raise construction and our planning costs, I mean, we cross that right out. And that's the only place where I really saw a pro or con.
Yeah, so the only
And-
reason why I put the impacts on there is because that's what Karis had specifically requested.
Yeah, and
for
these are
them.
impacts, these are all the impacts.
Yeah,
that- Yeah, but what I'm saying, I would, if it could, to simplify it, do we really have to put any pros and cons from us? They would draw their own conclusions.
oh, yeah, I don't
Just
think
seeing
so, but
facts.
that was a suggestion.
I don't know whether you wanna, are we gonna get
Anyway,
talking
okay.
about this
Yep,
I mean, I wasn't here last week, but I
Yep.
got a lot of kind of suggestions and
Yep.
thoughts, but I think that's down the road here for tonight.
yeah, well, it is, but we have, so I feel like till 8 o'clock, we're discussing all the other business we have to do, and then at 8 o'clock, we are simply going through the draft, and we're gonna knock it out of the park.
So this is the time that,
Well, yes,
As
but
far-
I want to get through the schedule first, so we're all in agreement with this, and then we can talk about the different pieces.
All right, so next,
go with
we
it?
do the presentation.
Okay, so do the presentation on the 22nd. And then on the 23rd, I want to put our webpage that I drafted up and live, which basically just gives a description, and I can show you guys what it looks like if you would like. But basically gives a description of what the Stormwater Bylaw Committee was not good for, but engaged for. And what we're trying to do. It gives the information about the select board, not the select board, the public listening session. And it gives a form, it has a link to a form where you could submit questions ahead of time if you want. And there will be a link to our draft bylaw that we sent out to everybody who had come and had comments coming back, because by then we should have everything back, because we will have just presented it to the select board.
Right.
So that would be linked to that on that day. So that would be the day after our select board hearing. Okay. Then the following week is the public listening session. That's where we're going to have, I have coordinated the Powers Hall.
Thank you.
It had, the Powers Hall, we have about 70 seats being set up, because I didn't really know how many to do. It's the middle of the summer. I don't know how many people will be there in person, but we can always add more seats as we're there, but they're starting with 70. We also have a microphone in the center, so people would come up to the microphone
Perfect.
to have a question. So I will have I'm hopefully gonna put in a slide at the beginning that kind of goes over the meeting procedures type thing, to have, if you want to speak, please get up to the microphone and speak. You have your time to talk and then sit back down. And then it's also being broadcast on Needham channel, whether it would be live or it's a recording to be aired later. I'm not entirely sure. I believe we're on schedule and it should be live and it should be okay.
Okay.
So that has all been
Nice work.
booked. Thank you.
so is the listening session strictly listening?
No, so they have an
there-
opportunity to have feedback, to have information or ask questions about what we're sharing with them.
It can be technical, like if we have an answer, but it's not basically a press conference.
Correct. So the only thing I would want to make sure that we make clear is that this is not, if you have a specific situation on your specific parcel of land,
Right.
this is not necessarily the venue for that. If you'd like to have a separate conversation, please contact engineering or something, like not, I'm thinking of adding an addition and I need to do this. How much would it change or how much would it, that's too
But
specific.
if someone gets up and says this bylaw could negatively impact my property,
Yeah.
Yeah, good to know.
that's a good thing to know.
Exactly, and how would it negatively impact your property? And understanding that we're gonna take your information, your feedback on it, and we may make changes to what we have here as recommendations, but it's not. It may be something that's a future change, or it may be something that's something we take into consideration now. It's not, we're not discounting whatever you're saying. We're just saying that this draft is kind of where we're at right now.
So do you want the full committee there, or is this a select?
Oh,
I think we should.
We'd like as many people who are willing and able to attend both the select board hearing and the
yeah,
public listening session. More so the public listening session than the select board, I guess.
Yeah.
Not that you guys aren't important, but
yeah, definitely August 5th.
August 5th, so
August
July
5th, everyone.
22nd and August 5th,
You can make it. Please be there.
okay? And then we have until during this whole time, we're having our meetings still, going over the regulations and working through all that. Warrant article submission happens on September 9th. It needs to happen by then. I'd like to have it September 1st. So if they have an issue with whatever we give them, we have a chance to do something with it, but September 9th is our drop dead date. I have the town meeting as October 13th. It was my best case. I have no idea.
20th, 20th.
The
Yeah,
20th?
next
Okay,
week.
so I'll have to fix the date on that. So town meeting is the 20th. And then the next select board meeting after that is
Yes.
We have a meeting on the 14th and we have a meeting on the 28th.
the 28th. So I'll change this to the 20th and the select board hearing to the 28th. Because that's when we should be presenting.
Are you
the
gonna send
regulations
this
for
out
acceptance.
again?
Yes.
Okay.
One other thing you should add is, there's gonna be a presentation to the finance committee at some point.
Yeah, so Nate, whatever, so if you, Tom and. And I'll be there too, and you'll be
Yeah.
there, right, Michelle, they'll want to,
When does the
Kick the
finance
tires.
committee have to be?
it's their schedule when they basically get around to the articles, warrant articles.
Well, this is kind of far into schedule, but you can like contact the Molly, Jill Molly, Howard.
Long, Paul.
No, but I'm sure I'll get to know her.
Yeah.
So is it when we submit the warrant, or before we submit the warrant article, or
No,
after?
you have to submit it, then they will act, they'll then question us.
Yeah, but you could just give a heads up and say,
So somewhere between September 9th and October 20th. is
oh,
what
they
I'm
have to have something in front of them to react to, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I just want to make sure that I'm
Not
clear as to
earlier.
where it happens.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. All right, so I will change the dates on town meeting to October 20th and select board hearing to October 28th.
Mhm.
I'll wear my witch's hat.
That's the, for the rates, right?
That one's for the regulations, to pass the regulations.
Actually, I think it's the 29th. I think that might be a meeting that's being rescheduled.
Oh.
Okay. Just let me know. If you guys could like give me an email and let me know what
Okay.
date that, whatever
It
select
hasn't been
board
confirmed,
meeting.
but I think
Whatever select board meeting follows the town meeting. That's the one we want to be at.
Yeah.
And if, Josh, can you send me an email too with I have to put a bubble in for the finance committee in between submission and town meeting somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is,
I'll
but
do that now.
okay. And then the day after, the select board lovingly says, go for it, when we hand our regulations over, updated stormwater bylaw and regulation are in full effect.
So what action does the town meeting take on this?
The town meeting is voting
And actually-
yes to the bylaw.
Okay,
We,
Select board is voting yay or nay to the regulations.
Right.
So that's why it happens after the bylaw.
Before town meeting, there might be. I think I don't know, if you'll present again. A quick presentation of select board as an article. Now it's on, the 22nd of July, we give them a thing.
Somewhere between September and October.
Yeah, but so before they vote on it, they'll probably just want to touch base and say.
Or before they vote on the regulations.
On the article, no, on the article,
Okay.
on the bylaw, that will be an article.
I'm assuming the July 22nd meeting, you guys are gonna be packed with stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's the only meeting that month, so we'll probably do a broad brush stroke of the bylaw
Right.
on the 22nd.
So if you could give me,
So we'll give more.
I'll give you another thing on task on that email, Josh.
Yeah.
If you guys could give me where in there, if you want to put another meeting or another presentation to the select board, where we fit that in.
I think that's just how controversial this is. I mean, like we'll see how the July meeting goes. and-
Okay.
Yeah,
August 5th, yeah.
yeah, and the August meeting, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, the September 24th meeting was switched, right, to a Wednesday.
And then October 28th was also switched to Wednesday,
Okay.
20th.
okay. So if you
you know,
could just let me
not to
know
be,
those dates.
not to be negative, but I think. Flooding and stormwater is gonna be in the forefront of people's minds.
Yes,
If you watch the evening news tonight,
Oh,
I
I'm
mean,
sure.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Worst ever, so.
Texas, North Carolina, any of that.
So
I
I
mean,
think the whole,
But the
if
good
we're doing
news
things
is
to
we
try
need
to-
the
yes,
fire
control flooding,
yes,
that's gonna be well received.
this is the,
crazy.
right,
Wonderful.
yeah, I think the one complaint might, is this enough? It's like, what's what we can do?
Maybe.
Okay, it's a
Okay.
pretty jam-packed schedule for the next 3 months, so this is why I wanted to lay it out.
Right,
Can I ask
So what-
another, I'm sorry.
Sorry, one other thing on the timeline. So the tree committee is meeting next week, the 15th.
Mhm.
There was a suggestion that we give an update or I give an update, but I think it's better for me to speak here. I think we have such a packed schedule. So, I don't know.
Your call. We love to
You're
have
on
you.
the tree committee too?
Yes. We love you and we'd love to have you, and if maybe you can do the
cross-pollinated.
pass.
Yeah,
maybe
Right.
it's
cross-pollinate.
cross-pollinated.
maybe we could do a half and half situation where you attend half here or half there. I don't know what would be,
Well, I'll
I
certainly
figured
show
you'd
up here.
like that one, yeah.
That was a
Okay.
good one. I like that.
okay,
Great.
all right. So
Can I
there's
ask-
this good, oh, sorry, go ahead, John.
Another related activity,
Sure.
I think.
Yeah.
You know, is Tom's stormwater master plan. Is that getting presented to the board at some point along this?
Well, there might be a
timeframe?
change of plans as of a few hours ago, so,
Okay.
I'll find out more tomorrow.
Good.
Is that
Because of the timing, you know, we really need like 40 minutes to talk.
Okay, but I've got to
For
think
that.
that's gonna be sort of a related question once we start to talk about the bylaw. It's gonna be, what's the town doing with regard to its, you know,
I
infrastructure?
wonder if I can give like the 5-10 minute breakdown and then let Phil come in at the next meeting with the 40-minute discussion.
I don't know. Do you have a
Yeah.
5 to 10 minute breakdown?
Yes.
Cause I feel like my outline was more appropriate for what they're.
I did, I
looking
like
for.
your outline better, actually.
Tom, does that involve the, if there are NEPI's changes too? Does that go into the stormwater?
No, it's just based on the study that we did last winter. For the whole time, yeah, so it basically broke down the basins that were in, that we reported a lot of flooding incidents
Okay,
and how to manage. How to manage that, so.
okay.
Okay, all right. So there is the schedule. I will, once I get the dates from, Josh and or Kevin, I will get that uploaded to the SharePoint site
Okay,
for sharing, and I will also email it, with the next update, with the next.
And I will
agenda.
review it and correct you.
Yes,
Okay,
you'll fix it. Okay,
yeah.
all right. So there is that. What else do we have on our agenda next?
let's finish this bylaw.
Well, hold on. I want to get through all the other stuff. We have 11 minutes left. I'd like to get through all the rest of the stuff.
I missed last week, so you hate to ask too many questions when you miss a meeting, but,
We'll forgive you.
It's okay.
thank you. Kim, you did a PowerPoint presentation for, I think was intended for the select board meeting
Yeah, it
back
was a
a
draft.
number
Yeah,
of weeks ago.
yeah,
And then now you have this document,
Which will
which pulls a lot of things from that document.
yep.
What is there gonna be a PowerPoint presentation of a version of,
Yeah,
That
so for
one
the
at the
select board
meeting?
and the public listening, we're gonna be using that that-
Last week.
presentation deck essentially,
okay,
which we just need to, after we finish getting the bylaw down pat, we need to go through and make sure
Yeah.
that all the points are still up.
so
accurate.
what's the purpose of this?
That is the brief overview that accompanies their packet that goes to the select board ahead of the 22nd meeting. The meeting on the 22nd.
Okay.
That's just a high level, just a general
Yeah, I mean,
briefing
it's,
sheet essentially.
it's very good. I mean, I think it
Thank you.
really,
It's more of a briefing sheet type of thing than I actually reused the graphics on there for the page that I put together for the
so,
the
and
announcement for the meeting.
will both of those documents be available for the listening session? People
what
that can go on the site and get background
Yeah.
on?
So for the documents that will be available on the website is the bylaw recommended draft, like what we're sending as a finished document. I'd love to say there's going to be the regulations, but I don't think that they'll be in any shape to be put out. So that document, the draft bylaw and,
And the PowerPoint?
no, I will not put the PowerPoint on there ahead of time. I'll put the PowerPoint on there
Okay.
after potentially, but not.
That should be, okay. Well, that's great. It's gonna really give a lot of information. to
I hope
people
so.
If they want to,
I hope so.
you know,
Yeah, that's more of like a, hey, select board, we're gonna be presenting this. This is what you're gonna be talking about, so they have some
okay,
idea.
thank you.
Sure.
All right. Next up,
Okay, sorry,
wanna jump in?
what else did we have on did we have anything else on our agenda?
the presentation was the next thing, right?
Committee, board, staff, the last thing I want to talk about is who should be receiving. So I need a list of the committees, boards, and or emails that I'm supposed to be sending this draft to by. If we finish
Right.
it tonight, I need it by the end of the week, to know who I'm sending it to. So currently, Chris Heap, Conservation. I would assume zoning and planning. Building. Although zoning is building, so I don't really know.
No,
No,
no, zoning would be,
Okay,
yeah, that's the planning.
Daphne,
yeah, so I basically need to know who I'm sending the draft for review to. And I need a list of who, well, either who they are and or what committee they're on, so I can,
Okay, is Daphne
she's a zoning. Yeah.
zoning? Okay.
I think you got everyone.
Oh, yeah, she's ZBA.
Aside from the people like,
finance.
no, I mean, like, there'll be a presentation to finance, they'll give their opinion, but they're not crafting this file.
Yeah.
That's good, Karis.
That'd be-
So, yeah.
So then Karis. Daphne for zoning.
Yeah.
Deb for conservation, we should share with everybody.
Yeah.
Lee
Lee, no one.
for. Yep, Lee for zoning,
Planning.
Planning.
planning, sorry, he's in the same
Yeah.
office space.
Whose building is,
Joe,
no,
yeah,
Joe, you know about.
so
that.
Joe, you already have it, so I don't have to send it to you.
Why are we here?
Lee. For goodies,
Harris,
yep, no, I said Karis,
Yeah.
Lee, and then who else were we saying? Oh, Chris Heap,
yep,
so you can have another review legally of the whole thing. Anybody else? So I have 6 recipients thus far.
So-
Definitely, or we give one to Paul, because he's gonna be doing
Yeah.
a lot of the reviews.
Yeah, but
Assessment
that's
and
you.
engineering, yeah.
Yeah, but that's you, but that's not like an official.
Yeah, but he should be, he should. come.
Okay, Paul Seslick, okay,
oh,
But
yep,
he's a person who's
7.
gonna be doing the reviews eventually.
okay.
yeah,
Um,
okay, so
But he's in my
7.
office, so I'll just make sure that he comments on it.
Try Miles Tucker. That the.
To review the draft.
Why?
No, but I
I don't
know,
want him to have comment, I don't think he needs to have comments in the draft.
yeah. No, you're right, these
I
are
mean, it's
people,
fine, I just don't,
I think
all
you-
Yeah.
review.
Yeah.
People are gonna touch it.
Yeah.
yeah,
I want people who are gonna be affected day to day by either what's in it or what goes in it.
And the tree preservation is well aware of it, right? It's not necessarily the center of it, but the tree preservation committee, it's well aware of it already, right?
He already gave it to me.
Oh, there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll circulate it to them. if you want.
Oh, Gabby?
all right,
Probably needs Gabby too.
oh, water and sewer, who am I?
Mike Gretzky.
Mike Gretzky,
Yeah, will be involved. Yep.
Mike Retzky, okay. Okay. So reviewing the list again, Kevin, you want to read that off for me, please?
it's, David Concom, Chris Heap, lead Newman at planning, Joe at building, Daphne at ZBA, Harris at DPW, Mike Gretzky, and Gabby.
Queenan
Greenan.
and Paul Seslick in engineering. CIE or C, yeah, CIE SLUK.
Right.
Sorry, I have to type it.
He's in, what town?
He's an engineer.
Engineer, okay.
Okay, I think that's everybody.
Do they get this too or not? They just get the bylaw.
They're
right?
just getting the bylaw. I just want them to look over and basically the instructions or the gist of it's gonna be, could you please take a look at, this is our draft bylaw with recommendation, including recommended changes that we're suggesting be made. Can you just please take a quick review of this and see if there's anything glaringly concerning?
Is this
or
what we're
problematic?
sending to our commission? or-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's anything glaringly wrong, incorrect,
Yeah.
or problematic for any of the work that you would do that may be affected by a stormwater bylaw.
And we're sending a final draft, not a red line version from the original, right?
Yes, it will be a no notes, no crossouts, no nothing version. Okay? 3 more minutes. Anybody else have any comments or concerns or questions or thoughts?
No, I may hop on remotely shortly, by the way.
Okay.
Okay.
And you have to sit there too.
What?
You have to sit there as well and just. join remote.
And be remote, yeah.
Well, I am a Gemini,
Yeah.
so there are 2 of me.
Okay.
All right.
All right, without further ado, then let me go about opening up the draft. Get that.
Which version are we in? So many
We are in,
versions.
we are in the most amazing version ever. I made some changes over the past few days.
Oh, okay.
So whatever you have printed is probably not gonna be good.
Well, I just have the one Tom sent around.
Yeah, which is
June
a
26th.
couple of, yeah, it's a couple of weeks before we made some differences.
So we're
last night,
into
so.
deliverables, right?
We're in deliverables, Article 7, Stormwater Recommendations doc, and I just tried to open it in the wrong way.
Did you guys get the one I printed last week?
I did not.
I have
Yeah, I
already,
handed it to you in the parking lot.
Oh, thank you, Josh. Yes.
it's
Yes,
okay, I
can you
made some
resend it?
further
I appreciate
changes,
it.
just word changes, not formatting or whatever, just updated some stuff, so.
This is stormwater, Article 7, stormwater recommendations.
I thought we're done with
Nope.
Article 6.
Yeah, yes, Article 7, Stormwater Recommendations, last updated yesterday at 12:37 PM is on. Okay, okay. So. We're gonna pick up where we left off last week, so we can get through the last sections. Then we need to go back and just review the definitions and see if we're okay with it. What I did do is go through the document. I removed BMP, because nobody knows what a BMP is, and replaced it with SCM.
New terms. This is fast.
John, guess what that is?
The new term for BMP is now a stormwater control measure.
Oh,
It's what the EPA. and
I think
everything
that's
seems to be
great. I
using.
like that.
It's
I
so
like it as
much
well.
better. Yeah.
It does at
BMP
least
is
explain it,
explained.
'cause when somebody says, well, when you have to
It's
install
both
best
that.
management.
BMP is so ingrained in
Ah,
everybody's minds.
Yeah,
Right, anyway.
unfortunately, it doesn't really describe what it
It's-
is, so it's hard to explain to somebody. So SCM, I replaced SCM. I went through and made sure every reference to every spelled out or initialed reference had spelled out version first, and then the initials only used following, such
Yep.
things like NIPD's or DPW or EPA or those kinds of things. So that's been done. And I also,
So watch for me.
okay, I certainly will.
Okay, I'll see you
Okay.
guys.
Okay.
And I also went through, changed it to say DPW director instead of director of public works, because that was confusing. And in a couple places we did director of public works DPW, and then we referenced the DPW as the Department of Public Works, so it was too confusing.
okay.
So I said DPW director at all times. And then also changed DPW director and or designee
Yeah.
differently. So that's what those are the things I basically changed. Okay? All right. So there is that. All right. Now, section we left off in was, sorry, let me turn off my markers because I know that bothers people. Is that better? Is this big enough for everybody at home to see?
Fine for me.
Okay. Janine, Tripp, you go with the size, or do you want it bigger?
I'm good. Thank you.
Sure. I'm gonna assume we're good. Okay.
Right.
All right, so. Section,
Oh, well,
So section 10, we ended on the low impact development language.
You gonna turn on the comments,
Yes. I think.
And then
Yeah, I do it, huh?
maybe they're further on the right.
No, oh, there they are. Yeah, I have it.
Oh, okay, because you have it.
Because I have it zoomed in, so I can't. Let me see if you can tell me if this is that still big enough for you guys to see at home?
Yeah, at home, I think we're fine with any size.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so, I did reword the low impact a little bit, because with the way we had it, the sentence didn't actually it wasn't a complete sentence. So I just, made sure, so just to make sure, what we said for low impact development, Town of Needham supports, encourages, and anticipates the use of low impact development, practices whenever possible or practicable as a preferred approach to managing stormwater and preserving site-specific ecological and hydrological functions. Applicants are expected to incorporate LID principles into their site planning process. That's it. We don't say anything about they have to use it, but we encourage them to use it.
And that's in the definitions.
I don't know if it's in the definitions because it's an actual paragraph section. But the low impact development is a part of what was a comment on our review of our required by NIPD's for our bylaw review. It's one of the places where we fell short because we didn't specifically state that we encourage it or we want them to, it's please use them.
But is there a reference to what a low impact development is?
Yeah,
Just as a term.
some readers
Um,
might not really know.
It's identified in
what
the
is considered low
stormwater.
impact development.
So low impact development it's in the stormwater handbook, the Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook. Low impact development is also, I think it's also something that's in our, or should be in our regulations as to what would constitute low impact development. So.
So it's basically the first two sentences of the longer thing that we had before.
Yeah. All right, so next is the regulated activities. Any construction or land disturbance activity regulated under this bylaw shall require the preparation and submission of a stormwater management and erosion control plan. The purpose of this plan is to ensure that adequate measures are in place to manage stormwater runoff, minimize erosion, and prevent sedimentation both during and after construction. The plan must demonstrate that the proposed activity will not result in adverse impacts to abutting properties, public infrastructure, or natural resources, and that it complies with the performance standards and design criteria outlined in the stormwater regulations. Obviously, we have to make those. So, the permitting authority shall review all submitted plans for completeness and conformance with the requirements of the stormwater bylaw prior to approval. Are we good with that language?
I'm good with it.
Okay, fantastic. Oh, I also did change as well. When I refer to the bylaw as just in general a bylaw, it's lowercase. When I refer to it specifically as the stormwater bylaw, it's capitalized.
Okay.
Okay.
Just for the definitions, I'm keeping a list of things that I think maybe we want to include in the definitions.
Absolutely.
So like
Please
LID might be one.
Yep.
I think stormwater regulation should be another. Just to say.
Sure.
Regulations promulgated by the select board in accordance with this, something like that.
Sure.
And permit-
I may have it up there. I don't recommend it.
Okay. Permanent. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Exempt activities. So, Tom has a note on this one as well. Hi, Deb. Hold on one second, honey. Wow, she's fast.
In my comments was like, who's the authority, health and safety?
Right.
So if the Board of Health says it's a health.
Thank you.
issue, we have to respond.
Thank you. Okay, So, the following activities shall be exempt from the requirement to submit a stormwater management and erosion control plan under this bylaw. Emergency activities necessary to protect public health or safety, and his comment is, who determines, the public health or safety? Is it the DPW or is it the Board of Health?
Could also
Or
be
could it be-
police, fire.
Right,
Could be either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so do we say,
by the presiding authority, like, I don't know how, if you have to state who
what's the,
determines if it's protecting public health or safety, but then again, I guess.
I
if you
guess you
don't,
could talk, you know, the building department, you know, considering that, the building department could say the safety of the building, you know.
right.
As authorized by.
There's Kristen in charge
Yeah.
of emergency prep, yeah, emergency management.
So maybe
As
just.
determined by, how about as determined by the authority having jurisdiction, or commonly known as the AHJ?
Oh, you guys and your initials, come
Yeah.
on, you're killing me.
I gotta have one in there.
Yeah, you're giving me a hard feeling now.
That sounds good.
The reason why I say that is because people say, oh, rain gardens are gonna cause mosquitoes, and that's a safety issue, health and safety issue.
It is for me, I'm allergic to mosquitoes. Sorry. Okay, so that one's resolved. Next one. General requirements, and the topic here, just so we're reviewing, is stormwater management and erosion control plan requirements. General requirements, if authorized by the owner. So Tom had put in here a note, about needing to add as a condition of the permit to verify proposed stormwater mitigation measures are installed, inspectors need to enter private property. So I'll read the whole paragraph, but I have a comment about this one, or a response to that. If authorized by the owner or other party in control of the property, the permitting authority, its designees, officers, and employees may enter upon privately owned property for the purpose of performing their duties under this bylaw, and may make or cause to be made such examination, surveys, or sampling as deemed reasonably necessary to determine compliance with the permit. I feel like we've already said it. So Tom, I really need you to tell me why you don't feel like that is addressed, number one. And number two, this was one of the sections or one of the paragraphs that Chris was about us saying we have the right to enter property.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was, my intentions was to have it in the bylaw or to have it, you know, when they issue the permit, that's when you say. By virtue of asking for a permit and granting the permit, you know, we need to do the inspections. So,
Yeah, because the if authorized.
Yeah,
by
but
the
I think
owner-
if the owner
Yeah.
authorizes us to go and look at it and they're not building anything, they just want us to go and look at whatever they've installed or whatever's been installed. So say if you bought a house that had a unit in it and they want
Yeah.
you to come and look at it to see if it meets whatever criteria. This is
Yeah.
just saying that they can go on the premises because the owner gave permission.
Okay,
all right, well,
Yeah, we should double check that with Chris.
yeah, I guess it resolves it, but I'm just saying that, you know, this is actually part of the conditions of the permit rather than the bylaw. You know, when we issue the permit. It's because they're asking us to. You know, give them a certificate of compliance
Right,
in the long run. And we're not gonna give that, if we can't do inspections, not allowed to do inspections,
okay,
as.
right, okay. All right, that one was one Chris did go over, so I'm sure, I think
So
I
he
mentioned
was
to him,
good with
he's gonna
that,
look at it
okay.
again, yeah.
okay.
The pre-construction, subheading on this one is a stormwater management and erosion control plan and soil testing results from a licensed soil evaluator shall be submitted as part of a building plot plan or independently with an application for a building permit, street permit, planning board application, zoning board of appeals application, conservation commission application, and or prior to any activity subject to this bylaw. A long sentence.
So this one has changed quite a bit from 2 weeks ago. I'm trying to follow what's going on.
Conform.
Yeah, so Tom had added, the language or the wording of, and soil testing results from a licensed soil evaluator.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
Um,
the pre-construction stuff.
Okay.
there are licensed soil evaluators.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, just for ease of reading,
Mhm.
there are a lot of ands between.
There are.
So stormwater management and erosion control is one thing, right? And then. And soil testing results are a separate thing. Between the two, rather than and, can we just say along with? Would that help with the readability? Stormwater management plan, or stormwater management and erosion control plan, along with soil testing results from a licensed soil evaluator shall be submitted.
Okay,
Does that help it?
Sounds good.
okay.
Comma along with.
So that's results.
Does that help?
Just a question, Tom. When we say a licensed soil evaluator, is that someone licensed by the Commonwealth? Is that a license issued? Or are we talking about an actual engineer?
Yeah, that's licensed by the Commonwealth.
Should that be in the definitions?
Really?
Yeah.
Should we say a Massachusetts licensed soil
Well-
evaluator? I don't know how, is that a license
One's
Yeah, it's a
in New
license.
Hampshire.
or is it a civil engineer?
It's a license, yeah,
It's a license, okay.
yeah.
But wouldn't we also accept something from like a geotech engineer, for example?
Hmm.
Yeah. I
Or
know,
actually
I'm
even a civil?
contemplating that when. So,
Qualified, you wanna say qualified? License.
Registered?
Yeah, because-
Qualified might be better. That encompasses the whole gamut.
but I would put in a definition for qualified then to say that. First, a licensed soil evaluator is qualified. A soil scientist may be qualified.
An engineer would be qualified.
May be qualified, yeah.
So can you
Maybe.
add to your list of definitions,
Yeah.
terms
I would
qualified
say,
soil evaluator?
Yes.
as far as like how the levels go,
List is good.
soil evaluator be at the top. And
Yeah, I was
then-
trying to get rid of some of the definitions.
and then engineers and soil scientists
And geotech.
and geotechs would be below,
Okay,
because because we want it apples to apples,
Give an extra
but
space
they could be qualified.
I have an extra space where.
after a long there.
See, this is why I need paragraph markers. I can't see it without.
And the reason why I have it soil evaluators, because there's formatting of like groundwater elevations and materials
I
that
can't see.
that
it.
are specific to the licensed individual that they have to sign off on. Whereas a geotech will have a different format, use a different, won't use a USDA, may use AASHTO, may use something else.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you guys to do this. Somebody's gonna volunteer to read out construction and post-construction and see if there's any comments or ideas or thoughts on the language, if we need to change it or if we're accepting of it.
Are you losing your voice?
Nope, I need to use. I need to.
You got
excuse myself.
Read silently while. Yeah.
Read silently or read out loud. Why am I the only one who reads out loud? Oh,
The
'cause I-
stormwater management and erosion control plan shall include construction period measures, such as a dewatering plan during and after construction to prevent the discharge of silt or sediments to the MS4 roadway, wetland resource, or abutting properties. The permitting authority or its designee shall perform inspections at various stages of the project to verify and document compliance with the issued permit or an issued order of conditions.
The order, is Deb there? The order of conditions is a permit. So do we need that or any issued orders of condition? Is Debbie there?
She's there.
Because it was a legal comment on that.
Are you on mute?
Are you saying we could just stop at issued permit, Sue?
Yes, because an order of condition is the permit. Right, Deb?
Sorry, please repeat.
On the last sentence, can we delete or any issued orders of condition and stop at issued permit? Because the order of condition is a permit. Correct?
The order of conditions is a permit.
Okay.
Okay, so
I like it.
okay, post-construction, so we'll make that note.
It's a small change, right?
Should be okay.
All right,
I like this, taking it into his own hands.
want to read post-construction? That's a long one, too.
For all commercial and residential projects, the stormwater management and erosion control plan shall include post-construction measures designed to provide a minimum combined volumetric capacity to recharge at least 1.5 inches of rainfall over the total impervious area of the site, including all buildings and other impervious surfaces. For projects requiring approval from the Conservation Commission, Planning Board, or Zoning Board of Appeals, the plan shall also include stormwater runoff quality controls. These controls must incorporate structural and/or non-structural stormwater control measures that are designed to remove pollutants from stormwater prior to infiltration into the ground, in accordance with the Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook. The purpose of these post-construction measures is to minimize or prevent increases in stormwater volume at peak flow to the MS4 and to reduce the pollutant load entering the MS4 and receiving waters.
Well done. Next week
On
we're reading
construction
Shakespeare.
7.10.4,
We took that orders of conditions.
yeah, we just, we clipped the end of the last sentence.
And the issue permit, or order of condition is a permit.
Okay,
And changes were made. Okay, post-construction, so thoughts? Do we love it?
you note on the definitions, remove order of conditions, because I know that is a definition.
Okay, why didn't we have street permit on, for projects requiring approval from conservation planning, zoning? Why don't we have DPW on that? Did we miss that, or did
Possibly.
we
Yeah.
remove it intentionally?
Right, no, we just assumed.
I have a
Building.
comment on that. You know, oftentimes people go to the zoning board for just approval for a certain use in a building. You know, so there's no construction going on. There's no increase in impervious surface. There's no repaving. There's nothing. So that shouldn't trigger automatic stormwater review.
Oh, okay.
For example, we have a
So
building.
for impervious surface increasing projects, for projects that increase impervious surfaces.
Yeah.
We've said it elsewhere in
Yeah.
some of this.
Well, if these are projects requiring approval,
Okay, yeah, so maybe that's why the DPW wasn't in there, because this is separate.
Separate from construction.
Projects subject to this bylaw requiring approval from
Yeah,
Conservation Commission, Planning, Zoning, Board of Appeals.
okay, for projects subject to this bylaw
Yep.
and requiring approval on. Subject to this bylaw requiring approval. Okay.
I like it.
Should plan be capitalized here? I'm
Um,
thinking no.
Should what?
yes, no,
All right, low permeability soils. This is the part, I took out the part that says about determinations and stuff, because we decided that needs to go into the regulations. So this is just stating that in cases where low permeability soils are present, the DPW director may, in consultation with the engineering division, authorize modifications that are consistent with the intent of this bylaw. The applicant must conduct and submit soil testing results that describe soil types and groundwater elevations. And then we were gonna go into specifics in the regulation as to what types of alternatives they might be available.
Do we say groundwater elevations or groundwater depths? Oh, what's the jargon of it? Is it like sea level, everything's
I would say
elevation,
level, I would say elevation, but that's just me.
Elevation.
groundwater level?
The applicant must conduct and submit, so it hasn't. Geez, I don't know, I kind of like throw them in together, like groundwater elevation versus ground, you know, the depth of groundwater.
Yeah.
So,
If it's like the parlance of, engineering, that's fine.
Yeah.
I have a question. So if there's low permeable soils, they still have to apply. They still have to go to the building commissioner or planning board, like, it doesn't change the path, this just pulls in the DPW director as well.
Correct.
Right.
So basically, it just pulls in, and it's not really gonna be the DPW director, it's basically gonna be engineering. So basically, if they come to us and say, or if they put in their request and they get to, this came about because people put in, oh, I'm gonna put in this kind of infiltration or this kind of unit or whatever, I forget what you called them. The dry
Yes.
wells or the cisterns or
okay.
whatever they're called, yeah. So whatever the system's in, then they get there, they dig the ground and they're like, oh, this isn't gonna work, cause I can't, this unit that I intended to put in isn't gonna actually function the way it's supposed to, so now what do I do? Because I can't do it otherwise. So in order to get it through the plan for approval,
Do work.
I'm
So, yeah,
thinking, I'm thinking this triggers the regulations to give some more guidance on how to manage that. Like maybe they'll have to do more, grain barrels systems.
did I
instead.
say refer to stormwater regulations
Well,
for
I
the detailed?
think this kind of opens up the flexibility.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, yeah,
I also wanna make it clear that. If there's low permeable soils, it doesn't bypass. The regular process, like they don't just go to the engineering division. Directly, they
Yeah.
still have to go to conservation or anywhere else.
It's not a get out of jail free card.
right. Low permeable soils are, instead of saying present, should we say are encountered, identified? What's your thought, Joe?
identify.
We had exist before.
Hmm,
I think present's fine.
present.
I think it's fine. I don't. Tom, why does it have to be so specific to do soil testing rather than evaluation?
So
Yeah.
just so that you have a qualified person to determine where the water table is. Or, well, the types of soils.
But it's a soil evaluation, correct?
Yes.
By a licensed soil evaluator.
Yeah, so I think from what I'm hearing is, basically. A soil evaluator or someone who can be proved to be competent. Cause like a soil scientist could be competent. Or a. Geologist,
Yeah,
someone
soil engineer, yeah. Anybody.
I
I
will-
just don't see the need for like a perk test every time. It seems like
No perk tests, no,
that's what it sounds like to me.
no, just a deep hole test, determine where the water is, like the perk tests are useless.
So so we should have in the regulations, what is soil testing? What is soil testing?
Yeah. Okay.
No
Yes.
definitions in the regulations, correct?
I don't know, if we need to, we would.
I just think it's low permeability soils, if that should be a definition somewhere. But it insists, or the regulations might cover it.
I don't.
And here, I guess I would maybe make one suggestion, to add in consultation with the engineering division and permitting authority.
Okay,
Question?
Yeah.
So the standard infiltration method paragraph, that
is
got
going into the
totally,
regulations. Because
So
it's
that-
a methodology, it's not a,
Well, yeah, we're reviewing for the regulations.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah,
so
Yeah.
it doesn't even get
Take it out.
referenced anywhere in,
Yeah,
bylaws.
take that out of the bylaw, yeah. So.
Yeah.
That's what you're thinking too, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
okay.
Alright.
Operation and maintenance plans. An operation and maintenance or O&M plan shall be submitted with any application for a building permit, street permit, or application to the planning board, board of appeals, or conservation commission pursuant to this bylaw. The O&M plan must be designed to ensure year-round compliance with this bylaw and remain effective throughout the life of the system. The plan must be recorded with the registry of deeds, and proof of recording must be submitted to the permitting authority. Annual inspection and maintenance records for all stormwater control measures shall be made available to the DPW upon request. And that was something we edited last time too, because we wanted to leave it open for when we do have the capacity to receive the O&M.
Did we have it to the DPW or permitting authority?
Yeah, because the permitting authority might want to see them separately, right?
Yeah,
Well, we want to make sure that we're able to,
I'm gonna say and permitting authority, because I
Yeah.
don't want to have it just go to one or the other.
yeah,
mm-hmm.
Kevin needs to submit these to the EPA.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's fine. We just
You can
have
submit
it in
them, but I need to
ours
be able to
that
produce
we
them if they ask
Right.
for.
Okay.
receive them as well.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. No, thank you for your input. Okay, as-built drawing. At the completion of any project subject to the stormwater bylaw, as-built drawings must be submitted and shall include all stormwater management systems as constructed. These drawings must be prepared, signed, and stamped by a Massachusetts registered professional engineer. The as-built drawing shall accurately reflect the final configuration, elevations, dimensions, and materials of all stormwater infrastructure, including but not limited to infiltration systems, drainage pipes, manholes, catch basins, and outfalls.
I like that.
Sounds pretty straightforward to me. Okay. The as-built drawings must accompany the certified as-built plot plan, which is required to be stamped by a Massachusetts registered land surveyor. Together, these documents provide verification that the stormwater management systems have been constructed in accordance with the approved plans and comply with the requirements of this bylaw and associated regulation. Tom had a comment on it saying for building permits? Question mark?
Yeah, I think, when I was for the civil engineering. Stamp, typically doesn't require. To be submitted to the building department, it's usually a surveyor.
For what?
Yeah.
At the top?
Or
On the first?
plot plans, for the plot plan, yeah. So I'm suggesting that we have a civil engineer certify that it was installed, in accordance with the plans. But usually a surveyor, prepares, the as-bills. Usually, it can be a civil engineer too, but under the building department, they don't. Joe, do you accept, civil engineer stamps? I mean, it's gotta be, it's for offsets, you need a surveyor.
So my understanding of the law, and maybe John could comment on this, anybody who's certified as an engineer or a surveyor may do work outside of their particular discipline if they feel they are qualified to do so. John, does that ring a bell with you, or?
Yeah. But you better
Okay.
tread carefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and what we've been told by the Division of Registration is that anytime we question that, we can question their qualifications. and have them submit proof, but rare that we do that.
So should we just end it as it must accompany the certified as-built plot plan,
Well,
period, and not say who it needs to be?
I mean, this
Stamped
stuff is not rocket science, so.
yeah, yeah, so I mean, I'm okay with leaving it as, I just wanna make sure that we're not just putting too many encumbrances.
Trip,
for the-
what are your
for the
thoughts?
as-bills, you know?
Yeah.
I do want a certification though, from the civil saying it was installed. But they should reference a plan. They should either produce a plan or reference a plan.
So do you need separate certificates? Cause we get sign-offs from the surveyor that everything was built in compliance. So you'd have a separate certificate from an engineer.
Yes,
So you want the engineer first, right?
yeah, some sort of documentation, because if they design two systems and only one goes in. And a land surveyor submits his as-built.
Right.
And shows only one, he's just certifying that there's one installed, and, you know, so the civil engineer really needs to certify that it was constructed in accordance.
Okay.
So an as-built is different than an as-built plot plan?
Yeah, the plot plan is usually for like offs, you know, I don't know if we, if.
So I guess
people
the
went
thing is
into details.
as-built drawing and an as-built plot plan, so you have two things that show the same information, that you have two different requirements. The first one requires the registered engineer, the second one requires a land surveyor. Yes? I am not a construction person, so I'm asking the question.
As-bills must be submitted, right? And then
Trip, is that something you normally do? Like if you're gonna provide as-built on a project, you get a registered engineer that does the drawing, and then you have a land surveyor that provides the plot plan?
Whatever the civil engineer designs, he would certify it like a septic system. But and that he would certify that that one system was done correctly.
Yeah.
For example, and then the engineer, the ending as the as-built plot plan can just be stamped by the land surveyor. They're two separate, but
Right, but so that makes sense. Those two paragraphs make sense to you.
yeah, that makes sense. Yes. They do.
Okay, that was what I was trying to get at.
Yeah,
'cause-
sorry to get a little bit of weeds of this, but I just wanted to make sure that, a civil engineer can certify and then point to the surveyor's plan. That as-built is correct, that's how it was constructed,
so
Okay.
what wasn't designed does get built.
yes.
Okay.
Whereas a surveyor is just certifying what's on the property.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Surveyor is certifying the location of stuff, whether it be the house, the tanks, the pipes. And then the engineer would certify the design is correct.
Yeah.
That sound right, Tom?
Yeah,
Cause this is the end of the line, so you'd better have the engineer sign it off.
yeah.
Okay, 25 minutes, guys. Come on, let's go.
We can do this.
Gotta move it. All right. So design criteria, infiltration and other stormwater management systems shall be designed in accordance with the SEMs as outlined in the Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook and the Stormwater Regulation. For building additions that increase the existing impervious footprint by 25 to 50%, infiltration is required for the newly constructed area. For additions that increase the impervious footprint by more than 50%, the infiltration is required for the entire impervious area, including both the addition and the existing structure. For properties containing 4,000 square feet or less of impervious surface post-construction, infiltration systems must be designed to collect and infiltrate a minimum of 1.5 inches of rainfall. Impervious surfaces beyond the roof, such as driveways, decks, and patios, may be directed to the same infiltration system or managed separately using other acceptable methods such as rain gardens, drainage trenches or swales, detention basins, or other SCMs. For projects resulting in more than 4,000 square feet of impervious surface, infiltration systems must be designed to collect and infiltrate a minimum of 1.5 inches of rainfall over the total impervious area, including roofs, driveways, patios, decks, and other hardscapes. In addition, the applicant must demonstrate compliance with the Massachusetts stormwater standards, specifically Standard 2 peak rate attenuation and Standard 3 recharge. Projects requiring approval by the Conservation Commission zoning board of appeals or planning board must also comply with the applicable requirements and approvals of the relevant permitting authority. Oh, please, sorry. Applicant must demonstrate compliance with the Massachusetts stormwater standards for stormwater management and erosion control measures. B, erosion and sediment controls must be designed to prevent adverse impacts caused by the discharge of silt or sediment to municipal and or abutting properties during and after land disturbance and construction activities. C, there shall be no change to the existing conditions of abutting properties from any increase in volume or peak rate of stormwater runoff or from erosion, silting, flooding, displacement, sedimentation, or impacts to wetlands and other resource areas as defined in the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and or Needham Wetlands Protection Bylaw. When any proposed discharge may have, or D, when any proposed discharge may have an impact upon streams, wetlands, and or the MS4 or its conveyance system, storm sewers, the DPW director and or their designee may require minimization or elimination of this impact based on site conditions and existing stormwater system capacity. This is the category that we talked in detail with Chris on, and C was the one that we added because we wanted to make sure the abutters weren't being affected.
Yeah.
Which is what you noted here, so I think that's been addressed.
So what this means to me, if you scroll up a little bit.
Yeah.
So for projects resulting in 4,000, okay, right under that, we have A, B, C, D.
Mhm.
Is this the assumption that most of the conservation zoning planning will be seeing more than 4,000 square feet and therefore I'm just trying to find out what this A, B, C, D is, you know.
Yeah, I could take A. I
No,
could
no,
take
no,
the
no,
letters
no,
out.
I just want to make sure that it sounds like we have like authority to, if we decide that there's an impact to our drainage system, that we throw them into the regulations. If you go through A, B, C, D.
Through what in the regulation?
When the proposed discharge may have an impact on streams, wetlands, MS4. There doesn't may require minimization or elimination of the impact based on site conditions. Sounds like we're actually just trying to figure out how is this gonna be impacting our regulations. So, does that give us the authority to like, hey, you're discharging to the town's drainage system, therefore you're thrown into the regulations?
And should A, B, C, and D be right underneath that final paragraph, or should we have like a subtitle on there saying?
I don't have a hand.
Casey.
I don't see
Hey,
my
Deb,
hand
can you
up.
mute yourself?
Maybe that's, oh, that's my artifact there that I had. I'm sorry.
So under 4,000 square feet, an inch and a half. Over 4,000 square feet.
It's all an inch and a half, it's just what you're measuring. It with.
Yeah,
Right,
and we also have to add in that they must do stormwater standards.
yep, which we have. So my question
And then we
is,
have the A, B, C, D.
the A, B, C, D part of it, maybe it shouldn't be A, B, C, D, they should just be their own paragraphs.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. But before you take it off the A, B, C, D,
Yeah,
on C,
Mhm.
I think it's the first sentence, the first part sounds fine. And then as defined by the Massachusetts wetland, I mean, we're talking about any neighbor, any abutter shouldn't have. There should be no change for any abutter, not just because they're in Massachusetts wetlands. The Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act does not affect or isn't people who aren't in the wetlands area are not subject to it.
I think just defining the wetlands and resources define those.
Okay, yeah, I think so too, but I wonder if it's.
Yeah, the
gonna be
intention was that there, whatever that standard is
Yeah.
the standard that we would go with.
As defined, okay, all right. Or impacts.
Because we say or impacts to wetlands.
Okay.
Or other resources as defined. In the Wetlands Protection Act.
And Tom, I just want to make sure my understanding is the same as yours. So if there's an addition that's between 25% and 50% of the structure.
Yeah.
But in aggregate, it results in 4,000 square feet or more, it still falls in that 4,000 or more.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah,
Impervious is more, that's right.
oh, okay.
Yes, it is. It is,
Okay.
yes. And I changed it from impervious surface to impervious surface / cover, because we
Okay.
used the two sort of interchangeably.
I have 3 comments.
All
What you
right,
got?
On the part where it talks about, no runoff to the abutters, should we also say, public land?
We say no change to existing conditions of abutting properties. So whether it's public or private land, we just say
No,
properties.
well, so do we mean streets?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can't dump it on the street and then flood down the hill,
Okay,
so.
I think we were playing with, I think we were playing this with this for over the last couple of weeks. And
Yeah. Okay.
so if we just clarify that, because I
Yeah.
think that's what it was supposed to mean.
Yeah, abutters or public ways.
Okay, and then, should we say do the same thing we did in a previous section where we say projects subject to this bylaw needing approval from DPW, Conservation Commission, yada, yada, yada. And let's back up a little bit, yeah. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, is that in A, right?
yeah, in a project
Yes.
sub
Project subject to this bylaw, right? Where was that, John? Where did we put that?
Yeah, and then my final comment is, if everybody did like my proposal at the beginning of the meeting,
Yes.
is this the place to put it in? And I've put it into an email that I can now send to Kim, and she could post that if we think this might be.
Yes,
All right,
I agree.
Right,
Good
Yeah.
timing.
right.
so are we all agreed that I'm taking out of A, B, C, and D, or they're
I
just
did.
their own?
yes,
I
Yeah.
just wondered why did we have is there a reason why we had A, B, C, D, E?
Because I think that's how it was in the
Which
original.
yeah.
bylaw.
is convenient for referring to,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's really
but we
helpful.
don't need it.
Yeah, sometimes when I see that, I'm thinking that the last paragraph means
You-
like there's
all that
extra.
applies to, yeah.
Should be, yeah,
You're right.
I agree.
Oh, man, we're all so systematic.
It's Adam Joe's language.
And then what was the project subject to this bylaw?
Hold on.
Change the format.
Native trees.
Where do you want to put it?
Back on at the end of it.
So I have some summer help, seasonal help right now going through. Like the last several years of our permits. And, to try to get, an overview of like how it's been working. I think, one of the things they're finding out is that, that some of the, surveyors have been pretty creative on impervious area. So there could be a trigger for like, right, is there really more than 4,000 square feet of this, impervious area already for many of the sites?
The definition really matters.
Yeah, and also, I guess the the design really matters, because the surveyor is not designing, they're just saying, oh, you know, here you go, so
Interesting.
certificate, right?
I think that Joe should go after, before what was previously the ABC,
So right after the other paragraph.
yeah. I don't know.
I don't disagree. That's where I initially was gonna put it. but
Yeah,
then-
yeah.
For each required holding tank, Coltech, design dry well or rain garden shown in the proposed plan. We're gonna add a tree for a rain garden too.
Yeah.
I would exempt the rain gardens, because you're already trying to,
Yeah,
you know, populate more vegetation anyways. Well, Coltech's a brand name, so. Well,
Do you want just define holding tank?
yeah, call it dry well system. Maybe.
You wouldn't say infiltration system?
Or design dry well system.
Yeah.
We're no, we're doing tanks, we're just doing, right, that's,
Yeah.
Joe, you want it simple and.
When he's saying
In-ground
tanks, he's
SEM?
talking about infiltration chambers, he's talking about chambers, so.
Chambers, okay.
So,
infiltration systems as defined by the regulations.
No, well. Maybe splitting here.
chambers,
Chambers, we're talking holding cisterns, chambers.
chamber system, yeah.
For each required infiltration chamber system or designed dry well shown in the proposed plan.
Right.
So this is just a counting issue, like, does one project have a single system? Or does?
Sometimes they could have four, typically one or two.
Okay.
yeah.
Is each tank a system, is that what you're saying?
No, because these chambers could be like between 4 feet long or to, sometimes 12 feet long.
Yeah, it depends on how
Just-
much you're trying to capture. So you could do, I think you can have like, you could have like 4 different chambers so that it can fill up.
Yeah,
More,
one chamber
more,
could
but-
be 12 feet long. They have infiltration chambers that are 12 feet plastic chambers. But you could also have, 3 4-foot chambers connected together. So it'd be like one system, yeah.
Is it one tree per chamber? Is that what we're saying?
Oh, no, so
No,
one
one
chamber.
tree per system.
system.
I was saying
Fun.
three per chamber,
3 per
But
chamber. 3 per
subject to
system.
discussion, of course.
I'd say per system because you could have,
I'd say
you could
per
have
system.
different models of
Yeah.
chambers.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd say.
Okay.
At least it's something.
Rep,
Yes.
are you good with that? Rep,
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with Tom. It's hard to, how do you quantify it with different systems? So it just, there were different chambers, so it should just be the 3 per system, I think.
Right, so if you said to if you were building a home or whatever, and you said to an owner or whatever, so I have to put these I have to put 2 different chambers in, so that means I have to put in 6 trees.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like a problem.
No, I don't think so.
I love what you're saying, Trent.
At 2.5 caliber,
2.5 caliber, so we're talking a tree of like.
The sapling, yeah.
yeah.
It's
Okay,
like when they write legislation in Capitol Hill, we're just sneaking it in.
nice. All right, we're at enforcement. Come on.
All
let's
right,
get
ooh,
here.
guys, we can do this.
Okay.
I'm feeling good.
We get 10 minutes here. Come on. Enforcement. The DPW director and or their designee retains the right to oversee and review all matters relating to stormwater management within the town of Needham. The DPW director and or their designee shall administer and enforce the stormwater bylaw, stormwater regulations, orders, violation notices, and enforcement orders, and may pursue all civil and criminal remedies for such enforcement. The remedies set forth in this section are not intended to be exclusive of any other remedies available under applicable federal, state, or local law. That was Chris Heap's statement, so I
Okay.
think we're good. Written, we
Can I,
can do it by
sorry,
written.
Kim, can I interrupt you for 1 second and ask one more question about the tree thing?
No,
Are we, I know. Are we okay with just showing it on the proposed plot plan? We don't need to get another landscape plan, correct? Just want to be,
Yeah,
Right.
I'm okay with that.
okay. I figured that's what Joe was thinking, but.
This is why we have trip.
I
This
like
is what-
that. I really like that addition. Good. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, thank you.
It's real.
Thanks, Tom.
We get a check off.
we got the trees in,
I
yay,
know.
okay.
Joe, you made the world
I
a better
feel like we
place today.
have to.
Yeah.
All right, I can go to sleep now.
You can.
Not until we're done with the sections. We're
Alright,
almost
yeah.
there. We're almost there, guys. Come on.
All right.
The DPW director for written orders, the DPW director and or their designee may issue a written order to enforce the provisions of this bylaw or other regulations thereunder, which may include but are not limited to the following. A requirement to cease and desist until there is a compliance with the stormwater bylaw, elimination of illicit connections or discharges to the MS4, maintenance, installation, or performance of additional erosion sedimentation control measures, monitoring, analysis, and reporting, and or remediation of contamination, erosion, and or sedimentation resulting directly or indirectly from a permitted activity. Yes, okay. Appeal of determination. This is one that legal had originally stated. We kept going, betting it back and forth when he was here. I think I just want to leave it and see if he picks it up again when he does his final review. But we had in here, any person or entity aggrieved by a decision of the DPW director and or their designee under this provision, under a provision of the stormwater bylaw
Right.
may submit a letter of appeal to the select board, who may affirm, amend, or overrule that decision after a public meeting held not more than 45 days after the submission of a letter of appeal. You guys
That's
want to
what's
be
in
getting
our-
appeals?
That's what's in our regional bylaw.
Yeah.
currently.
I believe so,
I
yeah.
mean, I think I should be there.
I mean,
Likely this will be a rare occurrence. Very rare.
exactly, yeah, okay. So I'm gonna leave it as it is right now, and if he picks it up again, we'll
Cross
Leave
that
it.
bridge then.
cross it then.
Has it,
Okay,
has it ever occurred to this point?
No,
I don't think so.
Nope.
not for this bylaw, at least.
Injunctive relief. This was one that, what, God bless you, God bless you. This is one that, we didn't want to touch with a 10-foot pole, and legal's comment to it was basically, you need to have both criminal and civil or whatever, but, criminal and non-criminal disposition allowed under this under the bylaw. It says, I would advise revising this to match the model or one of the bylaws outlined in the box. I don't know what that means. If a person violates the provisions of this bylaw, oh, I missed one. The provisions of this bylaw or any regulation, permit, notice, or order issued, or any regulation, permit, notice, or order issued thereunder. The DPW director or their designee, with the approval of the select board, may seek injunctive relief in a court of competent jurisdiction and to restrain such person from activities that would create further violations or to compel the person to perform abatement or remediation of the violation.
Good.
I think that was the one that you lifted from something else, isn't it? No?
So I found the fee, like Massachusetts law allows us
yeah.
to charge up to $5,000 per violation.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know where this language came from.
Yeah, I didn't do that. Do we know where injunctive relief is anywhere else? Like, is it in the full, like the
You're back.
general bylaws?
Almost. Getting it.
I don't,
I'm saying it really.
Oh, guys, come on,
we'll tag it. in.
work with me here.
This wasn't in the original bylaw, was it? Injunctive relief?
I don't remember.
I think it might have been, so I think it was covered in there. I think it's good to have it covered.
Well, maybe, yeah, didn't we even discuss it, would be in the. It's may already be described, that anyone can.
Yeah.
seek a competent jurisdiction.
Should be the top. Oh, no, this is zoning,
I really hate this sort of function.
general bylaws. at the top.
That's a
Like
good
if you-
view.
If you Google it, that always comes up when I Google.
Yeah,
Mm.
general bylaw, yeah.
Sometimes. Okay. What does it say, injunctive? Yeah.
We're gonna do it.
Oh, so it's like there already, yeah, this is.
Oh, that's the
language
one
that's
from
already in
us.
there.
Yeah, all right.
Language that's already in there. So then I don't think we
Leave
can
it.
change it.
Again, you have to.
Let Chris have his final review.
Yep.
Give him something to focus on.
Okay, done.
All
All
right,
right, we did get rid of the severability
You know, I
section,
I
because
just have a question for that. Isn't that in every, document? Because if a part is becomes invalid, it says that the rest of it is good.
Right.
It's still, but, so why did we get rid of that?
because it's part of our, because the article is part of the overall general bylaws. It's number 7 in our overall general, and it's already covered in the overall general.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right, so waiver, the permit authority may, permitting?
permitting.
The permitting authority may waive strict compliance with any of the requirements of the stormwater bylaw or the rules and regulations promulgated hereunder, if determined that application of any requirements are unnecessary because of the size or character of the development project, or because of the natural conditions at the site, and where such action is allowed by federal, state, and local statutes or regulations in the public interest and not inconsistent with the purpose and intent of this bylaw. Any party seeking a waiver must submit a written waiver request. Such a request shall be accompanied by an explanation and documentation supporting the waiver request and demonstrate that strict application of the bylaw does not further the purposes or objectives of the stormwater bylaw.
I don't
That's a
like
lot of
this.
freaking words.
I don't like this actually,
Okay,
because I feel like every applicant's just gonna submit a waiver and say why they don't need to comply.
I'm happy to take that if you want, but I don't know if we can.
I- If anybody submitted an application for a waiver to me, my answer is just gonna be no. I don't want to be responsible for that.
Yeah.
But there may be that unusual circumstance somewhere lying out there.
We have existing, it says the permit of granting authority may waive strict compliance with the requirement of this bylaw when A, the action would serve a substantial public interest, B, such action required for compliance with the MCP.
And in our general bylaws, we're the only section that has a waiver.
C, strict compliance would result in severe economic
Yeah,
hardship.
this is what we
greater
have for a
than-
waiver for Concom.
You know,
Than public interest to be served.
I kind of have a problem with this one. I mean, it seems like I appreciate the flexibility of an event that we've never seen and may never happen. But it is sort of a now wiggle out from under this clause. And this is passed by town meeting and to allow the DPW director to say, well, this is too cumbersome right now. It's like, I don't think you can, I mean, that's a stretch. That's a huge sort of power we've given the permitting authority to just say, well, you don't have to do this.
And we've also added a lot of other flexibility
Yeah.
in the bylaw too, like, you know, if they're poor soils or.
Yeah.
You know, alternative ways of reaching the 1.5 with swales and other, so
There should be a blanket waiver.
Yeah.
They should do something to meet the intent.
I think we should get rid of it.
I think
Is this in the general bylaws?
They do have the appeals process
In our section.
already.
Yeah, and there's an appeals process.
Right. So we're getting rid of waiver?
I would get rid of it.
Who votes? Yes?
Okay.
I'm okay.
Say
I'm good.
We have consensus? Janine,
I'm okay.
Trip,
That's fine.
Okay. Consensus, all right.
Waiver's gone. Waving,
Bye.
waving goodbye.
did that just like 5 minutes
That was
ago.
from the original.
Yes, I
You're
know. I
good.
stole it
Not
from
the
you.
same
Thank you, ready.
You're just so
material.
witty.
Get credit.
All right, so here's the thing.
Definition.
We have definitions. If we can get through those, we're done with the
Wait.
draft.
Question,
Yes,
Yes.
I know I wasn't present. Did we figure out the whole tree thing?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
You
It's a
did?
Figure,
Yes.
Oh my God.
If you are building in Needham, you need to plant trees, period.
Yeah,
Yeah, he got
Nice.
right here, Jeff.
right.
All trees will be planted in Deb's office.
All buildings are now Johnny Appleseed.
Fabulous.
Right.
So
And you have to give them
a
names.
question, not to interfere with your charge here, but if we have comments on either the presentation, the PowerPoint presentation or the summary, I guess there's time
There
to,
is, so the first thing, so next meeting, the goal is going to, or what we're gonna work on next meeting is we're going to, the presentation
okay,
and that document.
Okay.
Because those things need to be ready for the following week.
okay.
So we need to get those
So we're,
done.
we're trying to get this draft of this done so it can. be-
Correct,
so-
because this draft, the presentation and that document are the things that need to go to the select board for a packet. So those are the things that need to get done.
So I should
following
wait
that-
until the following meeting before I,
The following meeting, if you have any comments, please bring them with you and have them be ready to talk about them, because we then need to get the regulations started and hopefully worked on fairly well in 4 to 5 weeks. Okay? Okay,
Yes,
All right.
definition.
so definitions. Sorry, I just moved my thing again.
well, it's been a long time since we looked at those.
Yes. Oh, we did have, before I go back to definitions, in the first section here, under the quality, we said consider the preservation of trees and tree canopy. So can we get rid of that statement because we added the tree section in the requirement?
Well, no, but that's part of the objectives, right?
Yeah,
So I would
That's-
keep it,
Then we can point to our clause.
yeah.
Yeah,
Consider-
keep it there and then, but and then that just, that kind of justifies what we said in that other,
Yeah.
that last section.
Instead of consider preservation about preserve the tree
Yeah. it could
How
be
about
preserved.
support the preservation?
yeah. support,
Promote. Promote the preservation.
Actually, it's not just canopy, it's going to canopy, it's also because we want first, erosion control, right? And,
right.
so it's not just because we like greenery, it's because we. Utilize trees for stormwater.
Yeah, see, a
Management.
tree doesn't really, it's not like that tree is gonna suck up a whole lot. I mean, it will if you remove all
Well.
kinds of stuff, but it's not gonna, it's not like if you plant a tree, you're now getting rid of.
No, but it prevents erosion, you know, if there's runoff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. It's connected because it's assisting in, keeping the stormwater on site sometimes.
Right.
Something like that.
You know, that, Kim, it actually became an issue in Boston. Because they're trying to keep the groundwater table up because of all the piling structures. And as good as the trees were for providing canopy, they also were sucking up the water and it was lowering the groundwater table. Yeah.
So,
Point,
Joe,
John.
are you okay with us if I change it to say support the preservation of trees/tree canopies subsequent to land disturbance activity? Meaning that we're having, because we put in there, like, because you're putting something in, you need to put in a tree.
Yeah, we put in a very specific measure.
Okay.
So
Okay.
this just kind of supports that specific measure.
Okay, I love it. Okay,
Alright.
done. Next one. So, alter was the first definition. Tom's comment just said adjust terms to line up with definition typical. I'm assuming that means just go through and make sure all the phrases exist in the document, is what you were saying?
Yeah, for alter, yeah, just make sure.
I mean, I'm not doing alteration,
Yeah, alter, we root word, you can do the root word,
I mean,
yes.
I'm not, quite frankly, I'm not gonna be Webster's dictionary at this point, but I'm
Right,
just,
and if you, yeah,
I'm just saying, I think that that's fine.
yes.
If you don't know the derivation of alteration, then you probably should be going.
I think there were other ways that were alter was said in the document, and I just can't remember.
Okay. So alter, the definition of alter, I think is fine unless anybody has any questions about, it. Okay. The other definition, I didn't know if we wanted to put in there was alteration of a drainage system, because we said that as one of the things that you had a comment on one area where we had something that may be exempted or used or whatever it was, like alteration of a drainage system.
Yeah.
Was an issue. So what constitute, your question was what constitutes alteration of a drainage system? So what are we defining as alteration of a drainage system?
I don't think we need to define that. I think that can, be left under the a clear context section up above.
Okay,
That's my thought on that.
I am
Yeah, I'm with you.
completely happy with that. Applicant, any person requesting a permit?
Does person have to be capitalized?
Yes, well, a person is very important.
No.
Person or entity?
Oh, gee.
Dog wants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dog, you're billing your dog. house.
The applicant has.
If
the
your
authority
AI
to-
companion fills it
Yeah.
out, yeah.
This is property.
Where did we land on, is it a permit or it's not a separate permit, so
It's
what are we
not.
referring to?
What do you mean? Any person, or entity requesting a permit? Whether it be a conservation permit, a building permit, a
Street
DPW
permit,
permit, street permit,
An
whatever it is, whatever kind of permit you're getting, you're an applicant.
Perfect.
An application, standard form for application as issued by the permitting authority and any other documentation which shall include but not be limited to plans, charts, blah, 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 blah. How do we feel about that definition? We're good?
Mhm.
I'm good.
Okay. Clean Water Act, I defined it because it was defined in the original.
Good.
Good. Defining the term commercial, I don't know that we use the word commercial a lot in here. I think we use it at least once or twice, but we put in here the term commercial shall include municipal, industrial, and multifamily projects. Is that true and accurate, Joe?
I think, because you could also say, a church is commercial. I think you could also consider that plain context,
So take out commercial?
my opinion.
It sounds like what we mean is anything other than single family, right?
Yeah,
Well, other than a 1 or 2 family.
Oh, right, so then maybe that's what we should say in the definition.
it's funny, I don't think of commercial as being municipal.
So basically, we use it one other place. It says for all commercial and residential projects, the stormwater management and erosion control plan. We could change that to say for all projects subject to this bylaw.
What about
Yeah.
churches? Churches have to do it.
How do you feel about that, Joe?
I'm good with that.
All projects subject to this bylaw. so
Mhm.
That's a good for me.
It really is.
Who picked that, Joe?
That's Joe.
Joe, wow,
He's a
you changed
wordsmith.
He's a
world.
genius.
We're the better place twice.
He's a genius. Now, Joe, if you could just figure out how to do a permit faster, I'm just kidding.
Oh, plural in the last. This,
I'm sorry, what?
it's plural projects.
I wanna know how Joe ever figured out. 750 cubic feet.
Oh, how many minivans?
42, yeah, minivans.
Joe, how'd you figure that out? I'd say it's because you don't have a life. Just kidding.
What did I figure out?
How many
Sometimes-
minivans?
Sometimes it's hard to hear here when you're on.
Minivans.
How many minivans were
42.
750 cubic feet?
I wanted something relatable, so I kind of did a measurement thing on a minivan and
That's genius.
Very good.
Not a C or Sienna?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Thinking about how many cubic yards one minivan takes up.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got rid of commercial, clearing, any activity that removes the vegetative surface cover.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Designated agent, any person or entity designated by the DPW director to assist in the administration, implementation, and enforcement of this bylaw and its regulations.
Mm.
Yes?
Or
Yeah.
enforcement. It could be any of those, not all of those.
Yeah, right.
Correct. Development means any construction or activity that disturbs or alters a parcel of land.
Sure.
Erosion means the wearing away of ground surface by natural or artificial forces and the subsequent detachment of and transportation of soil.
Mm.
Thank you, Google. Erosion or sediment control, the prevention or reduction of the movement of soil particles or rock fragments due to stormwater runoff. Erosion or sediment control is typically achieved through the installation of straw bales, silt fence, silt socks, or by surface coverings such as jute mesh erosion control blankets, or by the establishment of surface vegetation. I could take off the second sentence if we just want to leave it as it's soil particles due to stormwater
I
runoff.
think it's helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Existing lawn. So this is one of those things that was sort of questionable, but we had it defined in our original existing lawn, grass area which has been maintained or mowed in the previous 2 years.
2 years, okay.
Why do we need that?
I have no idea.
Is there something, do people do projects in phases?
Oh, I think it's because when we did the removal, if I'm not mistaken, when we're doing like if you regrade your property or whatever to do your lawn.
Well, also if a property is for sale for a long time and no one's mowing it, then the native vegetation will pop up and then people will argue.
So it's under-
not the maintained lawn.
Right,
Oh,
so it's under the no approval is required for these things, one of them being restoration of an existing lawn of restoration of existing lawn areas without lot grading.
Okay, I'm good.
I put my teeth back in my head in a minute. I lose my words all the time. Okay, grading means changing the level or shape of the ground surface. Grubbing is the act of clearing. Yeah,
We're going to insert something here
yeah.
after grubbing, so holding tank. I'm just going alphabetical on my list.
And do you think that there should be any more regrading? Is that enough regrading, just changing roads? And that's what it is.
I mean, that's the basic definition of it, so yeah. Holding tank?
Yeah,
Where does that show
well, we just added that,
up? That was that.
yeah.
Okay.
I
Oh,
don't
but
know.
didn't we change it? We changed it to something else.
To
Yeah, we
the
changed
holding-
it to infiltration.
Infiltration
something
system.
You're right, you're right,
Nice try.
sorry.
Ah, no, just kidding. Okay. Illicit connection, a surface or subsurface drain or conveyance that allows an illicit discharge into the MS4 that is not entirely composed of stormwater or groundwater, including any connection from an indoor drain, sink, toilet, or laundry facility. Including, but not limited to, any connection? Because it could be
Sure.
something else.
And clearing,
So sump pump doesn't count because it's.
Well, so here's the thing. So originally we had in there, it's not entirely composed of stormwater or clean groundwater. However, legal question, what is clean groundwater?
As determined by engineering.
They're gonna go wade through the muck.
As,
You have
as,
to be in there.
as determined by Tom.
One of us.
Yeah.
Engineering is stringent.
Yeah,
So I took out clean, but
Okay.
if they flag it again, maybe we'll deal with it. I don't know.
is there any a reason why clearing has to be capitalized and it's rubbing?
It doesn't, then I changed it. Illicit discharge, any direct or indirect discharge to the MS4 or the waters of the Commonwealth that is not composed entirely of stormwater or groundwater, including without limitation, any discharge of a pollutant, sewage, processed wastewater, or wash water, except as exempted. The term does not include a discharge in compliance with a nifty stormwater discharge permit or a surface water discharge permit. In other words, if they have a reason to do it and they've been approved, right? That doesn't cover it. So here I changed it to impervious surface / cover instead of just impervious cover or impervious surface. An impervious surface is an area with a parcel which prevents or an area within a parcel which prevents or significantly impedes the infiltration of stormwater into the soil. Common impervious areas include I'm wondering if I should say surfaces, but areas include, but are not limited to, buildings, driveways, including paving, concrete, stone, gravel, and dirt, parking lots, paved walkways, pools, patios, tennis and basketball courts, and other similar non-porous areas.
Do you want to say, an impervious, something that's permanent? I mean, like an ice skating rink, a temporary,
What if we just say sports courts?
or sports courts? Oh, yes, it's sports courts.
Yeah, pickleball.
Gravel's gonna bring up some conflict,
Oh, it totally is. They say it all the
but I'm
time,
glad it's in there.
but that's considered by the
Yeah,
the EPA considers
yeah,
it
yeah.
impervious.
Is
zone.
Yeah,
dirt-
glad it's in there.
Is dirt on its own, or is this gravel and dirt combined
I'm sorry, where am I again?
in the example?
Yeah, that's a good question.
In the parentheses.
Together, so basically, driveways that are
Compacted
dirt driveways, because you're driving on it, so your car is dumping pollutants onto the dirt, like you can't flush that out.
Yeah,
And it's compacted, you drive over it and flatten it,
oh, right, these are examples of types of driveways.
driveways,
Okay,
yeah,
yep,
yeah.
Okay,
So what would be considered a pervious driveway?
It would be one with pervious pavement that you do the O and M on it every
That's the
every
only,
6
only
months,
one.
whatever. Pretty
Yeah,
much, yeah.
You would need to show that, that you're maintaining.
Mhm.
Do you want to say it has to be permanent?
Do we want to say an impervious surface is an area, is a permanent area within a parcel which prevents significantly blah, blah, blah?
I mean, the only thing I'm just thinking, like a tent for a wedding or something like that,
Well, we
I
exempt
see.
the temporary structures, so that's
Okay.
why I don't think we
Yeah.
defined it.
we did, okay.
So there's a whole.
All right, then we're good then. Don't, it does, it's not
I
the
mean, I can
definition.
add it if you want.
No, then don't get into that, since you're exempted, we're fine.
Okay. Infiltration defined as the act of conveying surface water into the ground to permit groundwater recharge and the reduction of stormwater runoff from a project site. Land disturbing activity
You
or
want to see, a project site.
land disturbing activity or land disturbance, any activity including without limitation, clearing, grubbing, grading, digging, cutting, removal of vegetation or trees, excavation, replacement of fill, resurfacing and construction that causes a change in the position or location of soil, which I need to lowercase, of soil, or a change in the pattern of drainage, pattern of drainage and or infiltration of water. This may include the demolition of existing structures and site features along with any site prep required for new construction. What about partial demolition down to the foundation was a question that Deb had answered.
Mhm.
I would say you're not changing the impervious surface.
So there's no requirement for infiltration if it's going down to the foundation?
That would be my opinion, not changing the amount of impervious surface.
well, it depends how much square footage. Like if it's over 4,000 square foot, then you would still have to.
Yeah, okay.
This is where we differ,
Mm-hmm,
because this is 40 Lake.
right.
40 who, like,
40 Lake Drive, Lake Street.
40 Lake
no.
Conservation was requiring that they infiltrate. They said we ran it by the building department, we're only going down to the foundation, so we don't have to infiltrate. And went back and forth and back and forth. Over who had, jurisdiction over it. And their argument was that Joe or gave before him were the issuing authority. And that they had the final say. And we said, no. We have the final say under our bylaw,
Right,
so
so you deemed it a land disturbance.
that it required, yes, that going down to the foundation was essentially rebuilding the house.
Was it,
So we deemed it as being new construction.
were they regrading the property too, or just doing a structure?
Well, they ended up doing a lot of things that they weren't supposed to do. So they came to conservation and said, we're just bringing this down to, so
And
there
that's
wasn't
it. It's
any,
like, whoops, we
there wasn't any
scooped out a
ground
few buckets.
disturbance.
Okay.
And then suddenly there was.
So wouldn't they fall into this though? So under the design criteria? For properties containing 4,000 square feet or less of impervious surface post-construction. I'm going to add that to
Who's
this.
your convict? Before you,
They need to have 1.5
They
inches
wrote a
of
note on the
rainfall.
plan that
Right.
said even
And
though
then-
the authority said that they weren't required to infiltrate.
Infiltration
That they were
infiltration
doing
systems
it to
must
be
be
nice.
designed to collect
They're-
and
they're
infiltrate a
building
minimum
up
of
the
1.5 inches of
building,
rainfall.
not content.
Impervious surfaces
That
beyond
was
the
their
roof,
interpretation.
blah, 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 can
not
go on
ours.
somewhere else.
They.
Okay.
So they.
But for properties that result in more than 4,000
Well, I'm
of
making
impervious
it-
surface.
Yeah, right.
And that's
Design
what I want.
must be designed to
Yeah, I
collect
think
and
I
infiltrate
want-
the one and
I
a
want
half
this to
for
be
the
crystal
entirety of
clear.
And that's land disturbance.
Right.
4,000 square feet.
I can't hear a thing because like there's
Oh, yeah, I know.
multiple
Yeah.
conversations going on.
Okay, so even though in the case of if down to the foundation, so if they only bring it down to the foundation. It technically wouldn't trigger the bylaw. Especially the old way we had it, but it wouldn't trigger the bylaw based on a building addition. Increasing the footprint by 25 to 50% or 50% or more, because it's not changing the footprint at all. However, would capture it when for properties containing 4,000 square feet or less of impervious surface post-construction. Infiltration systems must be designed to collect and infiltrate a minimum of 1.5
Yes.
inches. For projects resulting in more than 4,000 square feet, infiltration systems must be designed to collect blah, blah, blah. So, in other words, if you don't capture it on an addition. Because even though you bring it down to the foundation, if your project post-construction, because and we're talking about construction projects, post-construction is either less than 4,000 square feet, you have to do this, and if it's more than 4,000 square feet, you have to do this. You're still collecting 1.5 inches. It's just that the over 4,000 also has to demonstrate compliance with the
Right, but if you simply go by that, then you would be including any additions that are under 25%, which I thought we weren't going to do. So I don't have a problem doing it Deb's way as long as we make it clear. You know,
Is
I
it-
think, like Deb says, we differ on how we interpret the current bylaw. I don't care
Okay.
which way it goes, let's just make it clear.
So we have our definition in our bylaw or our regulations for new construction.
Yeah.
Means the construction or replacement of a structure, house, or building, which requires a building permit. Or a construction/reconstruction of a parking lot or construction of a subdivision roadway. Requiring planning board or board of appeals approval. So. We are calling new construction if you need a building permit.
So
Okay.
it almost sounds like we should get rid of basically the first paragraph and just have the 2 other paragraphs. Because that means anything under 4,000 square feet, if you're doing any construction, you need to put in the infiltration, anything over 4,000 square feet, just with a few more
Yeah,
requirements. So the whole 25% and 50% thing is no longer
it did.
applicable. It just means any construction is going to need to have.
Oh, hold on a second. So
But that
that
means if they're doing additions, if they're doing additions though, or alterations. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You're
but if
doing an
somebody
alteration of the
puts on a 10 by 10 sunroom, Oh, what do we do? Do we then make them do infiltration on that?
I have a,
Yeah,
No,
that's a
but-
big part of it, the 25.
Yeah,
I have a compromise. So in the second paragraph.
Yeah.
In the first sentence of the second paragraph.
Yeah.
it Says less than 4,000 square feet. You have to have 1.5 inches infiltration, but it doesn't say over what. Can we say over the, impacted surface area? So if the project, whatever area of the project is being impacted, that's what you have to do.
So any
Yes.
size addition, regardless of the percentage. Any addition,
no,
a 5x5 mudroom on the front of the house, they'd have to do some sort of stormwater management.
that's
Yeah,
hard to defend.
shouldn't trigger.
I thought
Unless
that's
you-
why we started with the 25% to begin with.
Yes,
I mean, they just, kind of screwing anybody who wants to do improvements to their house.
Right.
Right.
So we gotta fix the second and third paragraph somehow to it basically state that any project that has that any new construction or construction more than 50% of the house or something. I mean, I don't know. Because if you take it all the way down to the foundation, you're not changing the footprint.
Right.
However,
So how about this?
It's new construction.
If we say,
but that's not how new construction is defined in building.
go, yeah, Joe,
Sorry, go ahead.
if we say new construction as defined by the Conservation Commission or the zoning bylaw, because the zoning bylaw says new construction is considered if you take down more than 25%, 50% of the shell of the building, now you're new construction.
Right.
I like that.
yeah. 50% of the shell, okay, so that can be foundation, I mean, yeah,
But we're not messing with these paragraphs here, right?
Yeah, so I'm just saying, changing this paragraph to say, the opening would be for projects defined as new construction or something to the effective, defined as new construction, or for new construction projects as defined by conservation or zoning bylaws, conservation regulations or zoning bylaws
right,
that contain 4,000 square feet or less of impervious surface, blah, blah, blah. Does that make sense? You want me to just put it in there and you can read it and see and think about it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm nervous making this change right now.
Uh,
Thought this was
can-
settled.
Can we,
This was-
yeah, we settled on this. I think we leave
Yeah,
this.
why don't we do this somewhere else?
Go back to definition and put
Why don't we
that
just-
clarification in the definitions.
Yeah,
where we started.
So we're not changing the sentence?
I will. hold
Because
up.
the way these two paragraphs read, every single property, whether you're doing an addition, an alteration, new construction, whatever, falls in these two categories.
Yeah,
Every single one. So if I'm
because the-
remodeling my kitchen,
No,
and my
No.
property has,
Above it.
well, I understand, but the way it's written, if my property contains 4,000 square feet or less of impervious surface, if I remodel my kitchen, I then also need to put in infiltration, and that's not correct.
no, because the previous paragraph sets the other criteria. The 25 to 50%.
for building additions that increase the existing impervious footprint. The infiltration is part for nuisance. But,
This
I would,
was,
I would put it in the first paragraph. Or the definitions, if anyone.
I think leave it, put it in the definitions where we first started this conversation.
yeah. This was always an issue from the beginning with going down to the footprint.
so in definitions, what we were calling, this is the,
So am I just
Um,
defining the new construction as something else?
land disturb activity, right?
So new construction, it says construction or replacement of a structure, house or building which requires a building permit, or construction, reconstruction of a parking lot, or construction of a subdivision, roadway requiring planning board or board of appeals approval. And again,
How about the 50% of a shell? That's Tom, Joe Riley said that, right?
But isn't
That's
this the same
ZBA.
definition as?
Yeah.
So are you happy with this definition? Isn't this the same as what conservation has?
50, I mean, actually, that solves
Yeah.
their problem. If you go by the building one, if it's 50% of the shell is removed, altered, or whatever, then it's new construction. So the fact that it was just foundation, the issue is moved.
What definition were we on when we started this whole thing?
We were on, land disturbing activity or land disturbance. There's a question, what about partial demolition? Down to the foundation, question mark?
Okay, so then let's take that out of there and clarify it in the one we were just at, new construction, right?
Yes, land disturbing activities,
Is what it is.
yeah. So get out the what about partial and then go to, and if we want to quickly go down to new construction.
Yeah,
And say, new construction replacement of
Uh-oh.
and Joe, what was it, 25, 50% of the shell?
Yep.
Jar,
50% of the shell of the, we could just say as defined, new construction as defined by the zoning bylaw or the
okay,
conservation regulations. I think there may be a difference.
all right, we put both, we can say both, depending on. If you're going from the Concom, then you're using your definitions.
Mhm.
If it's not a Concom project, you're using building. So we can give a nod to each of them,
Mhm.
so it works for each of them.
Yep.
And then say, yeah, and. Okay. And do you want to say in parentheses, building permit, building bylaw, or
No, just zoning bylaw.
zoning, zoning, okay.
Little top one.
like I know I can see the whole thing somewhere.
We were zooming right along until we get to that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been an underlying issue all along too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So now we're clear. No more
Yep.
conflict.
Wait, we
No.
didn't see a definition. Where's the definition?
I don't know.
Well, you almost know. Oh, there it is.
and you can sort of, yeah, demolition for 50% of the building.
50% of the building.
It's in the garage, okay.
Exclusive of that.
Okay, and the 2-year look back.
Mhm.
It's kind of interesting.
What do you think about that?
What do you mean?
Does that cover it for you, or would that have? Gave us a leg to stand on with that, whatever.
Well, we're leaving either the conservation regulations or the ZBA bylaw.
Not zoning, yeah.
Yeah, put them both in there. Or just put a reference to both.
Yeah,
We just have to do a reference. We don't have to put the whole thing in.
right.
Okay.
Because the zoning bylaw could change and the conservation rule or regulation could change. So I wouldn't put the specific language in. I would just say refer to the zoning bylaw or the conservation commission rule.
What if the project's in our jurisdiction and has to go before the zoning board?
We could put you in a boxing ring and
Right.
Talk
Need-
about-
what are your regulations called again? Need them,
Right.
what?
Wetlands, protection
you.
regulation.
But that'd be a property in front within your jurisdiction, so.
yeah,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
case where, it was in front of both boards, I think it would be whichever one was more restrictive would apply.
Right.
Mm,
Right.
I can't remember what it's called. Needham wetlands, wetlands protection. Act.
Protection Act.
Gotcha.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, wetlands protection regulations is what we have it under.
Where the hell did I just go? New construction. There we go. Wetlands protection. Regulation. As applicable. How about that?
Yay.
Okay,
Back up to,
we defined, next week, oops, no.
Low impact development?
Low impact development is here.
I'm just
So check
addressing
it
the
off.
word evapotranspiration.
Yep, it was not my definition, let me tell you.
Good.
That is definitely off an EPA definition, I gotta tell you. We defined what a lot is, a single parcel of land held in identical ownership throughout and defined by meets and bounds. Or boundary lines in a recorded deed or on a recorded plan,
Perfect.
okay? Massachusetts Stormwater Management Standards, the standards issued by the Department of Environmental Protection. Again, this definition came off of EPA, so I have nothing to do with it.
Yep.
Municipal storm drain system or municipal separate storm sewer system, otherwise known as the MS4. Again, EPA
Well,
definition.
standard definitions.
Yeah.
Sorry, we passed by, the L's low permeable surfaces. That was another one.
Which one?
Oh, sorry, soils, yeah.
Low permeable soils, okay. How would we like to define that?
Low permeable soils with low permeability. With
Sounds good to
evapotranspiration.
me.
What's the content?
Isn't it challenge soils?
No, we're not trying to.
Do we call them
be
poor
fancy. We wanna be
soils or-
completely- Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor soils.
I think it's technical soil type, like silt, something that's silt loam,
Clay.
like, yeah,
Don't bring him into this.
yeah.
He's gone, yeah.
You are still stewing over that.
No, we're good.
Low permeability soil is soil that has a limited ability to transmit water or other fluids through its structure.
Perfect.
Leave it to AI.
Consists of
AI to the rescue.
clay,
It's oil, the soil where water struggles to drain or infiltrate.
Soil permeability refers to how easily water or other liquids can flow through a
Hard-
soil.
hard
It's a key
and
factor in how well
clay,
soil drains
silt.
and blah, blah, blah. Yep.
Such as.
such as hard pan, silt, clay,
Wedge.
ledge. Yeah, that's
That would
good.
definitely
Mudstone,
qualify.
claystone, glacial till.
All
Okay,
right.
hold on.
let's
You would
do
do
that.
including but not limited to.
Yeah, um. So, hold on, let's take that one.
Good work.
All right. All right. I'm like, got to nip these.
I'm gonna waive it on the list.
We didn't do it.
Clay, what else?
Silts,
Ledge.
primarily composed of clay, silt, ledge, or hard pan.
Or what?
Hard pan,
Hard pan.
one word, right?
Okay.
What's the name?
Examples include or no? Examples include but are not limited to clay, silt, ledge, or hard pan?
Preliminarily, consist of clay, yeah.
That's
What is
enough.
it?
Yeah,
Okay,
The underlining.
yeah,
Yeah. That's it. And lot, just to alphabetize it. Lots should go before.
oh,
Low impact development.
you're a stickler for this, aren't you?
John's is good.
He just really likes to give me a hard time. Just enjoy it.
No, even before, earlier. Before low impact.
That's what I was trying to, sorry. Oh, 40 minutes ago.
all right,
Okay.
nifty's, back to nifty,
Nifty's, again, standard
Standard.
definition.
new construction, I
We
believe you
just
just
did
did
that
that.
one. Normal maintenance activities.
These are regulations,
Again, we had a thing of what's not, what's exempted, because if you're doing normal activities, basically when the municipal is in there, it's the same one that was in our original one, so I think we're good with the definition, yes?
right?
Operation and maintenance plan. A plan setting the functional, financial, and organizational mechanisms for the ongoing operation and maintenance of a stormwater management system to ensure that it continues to function as designed. I feel like I could do commercial. Oh, God, I'm gonna get electrocuted on the way out too.
No.
I put in here order of conditions, but we're getting to that. You took that out. Okay.
Tom ordered up some runoff for tonight.
Great.
End the meeting.
Do you have any O's that we need to get in there?
Change
No,
my
I have a
schedule.
meeting coming up.
Okay, so we defined what an owner is, a person with a legal or equitable interest in a party.
Right,
Person is capitalized, do they have to?
No.
be? No. Okay.
same with permittee,
Yep. The permittee is the person who holds the permit. Should I say person or entity?
Person or entity, yeah.
yeah. And also owner, a person or entity with the we.
I don't.
Yeah,
A trust open
Oh.
with the owner, right?
Wasn't it? Permitting authority, the definition of a permitting authority is the municipal board, committee, or department with authority for issuing permits for construction and or land disturbing activities. These include the planning board, conservation commission, department of public works, building department, and zoning board of appeals.
Okay.
Perfect.
Like it. A person,
A
we
person
define what a person is.
is kind of.
An individual, partnership, association, firm, company, trust, corporation, agency, authority, department, or political subdivision of the Commonwealth or the federal government to the extent permitted by law and any officer, employee, agent of such person. Do we need to define a person?
Please.
I don't think so.
Need to define an
I think
entity if we're gonna
it's like
define a
over-
person.
Yeah, this is a lawyer who,
Kill them.
like, yeah.
Get rid of the people.
Board
It's Citizens
needed
United.
something to do here.
Corporations have.
Definition of a plot plan. A plot plan, also known as a site plan, is a scale drawing that shows the layout of the property, including the location of existing and proposed structures, property lines, setbacks, easements, driveways, walkways, utilities, topography, and drainage features. It is typically used to demonstrate compliance with zoning, building, and stormwater regulations. Plot plans are required as part of the permitting for new
Like it.
construction, additions, grading, and disturbing activities.
Yeah,
It is typically, we can get rid of all that
Yeah,
from here on.
yeah, our definition test isn't,
Okay,
Need to be an essay.
yeah,
a point source, any discernible, confined, and discrete means of conveyance, including but not limited to any pipe, ditch, channel, tunnel, conduit, well, discrete fissure, or container from which pollutants are or may be discharged. I love Google. Actually, I love ChatGPT. But anyways, a pollutant. Definition of what a pollutant is. A pollutant is any substance or material that, When
Rain
introduced into
tree.
the environment, particularly air, water, or soil, can cause harm to ecosystems, human health, or the natural balance of the environment. Pollutants may be chemical, biological, or physical in nature and can originate from both natural sources and human activities. Common examples of pollutants include sediment, nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus, heavy metals, oils and grease, pesticides and herbicides, bacteria and viruses, trash and debris, and even excess heat, which is considered thermal pollution.
Excellent.
What about light pollution?
Well, yeah, but we don't have, this isn't the essay of essays about pollutants, but yeah, it's just a
I
definition.
beg to differ.
I agree, I hate light pollution. This is construct,
The definition of pre-construction, all activity in preparation for construction.
actually, do we want to include light pollution?
Um,
Joe, didn't you just do stuff about light across,
You did.
He's a light expert.
Mm-hmm.
you had to measure light?
I think he's remaining silent.
Light and even excess heat.
Light and EMS, all right, good, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Perfect.
Pre-development is the conditions that exist prior to the proposed disturbance activity. Where phased development or plan approval occurs, preliminary grading, road and utilities, etc. The existing conditions at the time prior to the first plan submission shall establish pre-development conditions.
Okay,
Do you hear a definition for construction? Is that excessive?
We have a definition for new construction.
construction. Don't we all know it's?
Is,
Construction.
is that clear? I don't. I feel like I'm.
I think it context picks that up.
Good, okay.
I mean.
Post-development means the conditions that reasonably may be expected or anticipated to exist after completion of the land development activity in accordance with approved plans on a specific site or tract of land. Post-development refers to the phase of the new development or redevelopment project after completion and does not refer to the construction phase of a project.
Okay,
Okay? Recharge means the process by which water from precipitation, surface water, or other sources infiltrates into the ground and replenishes underground aquifers or groundwater supplies. This natural process is essential. I'm thinking I can get rid of everything from there.
yeah,
Oh,
I mean, it's nice to know, but,
But we're going on, I have a Q,
okay.
qualified soil evaluator. Or
Would that be, would that be soil evaluator?
Yeah, soil evaluation.
oh, hold.
And reconstruction? The period after the Civil War, in which.
Period after what?
Civil War.
Period, the reconstruction, the period after the Civil War, in which voting rights were extended. And it ended in the Johnson administration.
Qualified soil
The
evaluator.
grant-
and I think that's Andrew, right?
Andrew, yeah. Thank you. All right,
You know what we should do our last meeting is we should play Trivial Pursuit at the end. Wouldn't that be fun?
It has to be stormwater.
All of our random knowledge.
It's gotta be stormwater related.
I always pick green. Sorry for
Trivial Pursuit is easier if you know all the answers. Right,
How
don't.
about a board game?
That limits it just to soil evaluation.
Stormwater board game?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we have stormwater
Right.
coloring books.
Well.
With, what is it?
Right.
Something the
What are we
storm
on now?
drain? Wayne the storm drain.
Qualified soil evaluator.
So just soil, right?
I thought of getting certified.
I don't,
What do you got,
I don't think it's gonna change, well, I was gonna say, I don't think it's gonna change much when she typed in.
How about this one?
We've had applicants dig their
Oh,
own
God.
soil test pits.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they're like. They.
Silty sand, clay,
Yeah.
clay silt.
May I have permission to leave a little early? May I have permission to leave a little early?
Yeah, if you
get
have,
thunderstorms, I've got to go
Wow. That's a great definition.
Silty sand?
Outside
Yeah.
my basement.
Oh, over
And I've
here.
got two cats that are.
They're driving me nuts, so they do.
So.
I see the report, silty sand.
Won't be excused.
Yeah,
Yes,
that
we
doesn't
are.
mean anything.
So you're off,
So
so
like,
you're,
but it's a drain inside of my basement door with these monsoons, which are monsoon.
Do you have an O and M plan for that drain system?
good,
No, but I don't. It's a storm drain.
Okay. Qualified soil evaluator, definition of a professional with specific expertise in soil science, groundwater hydrology, and topography who conducts evaluations to determine the suitability of a site for stormwater management systems, particularly those that rely on infiltration. How do we think about that?
Yeah, no.
Trip, what do you think?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Professional soil,
do we need
I have-
I
qualified?
think you need to
Yes.
say
We
soil.
I have,
Husband
I have
just
notes
told me we lost
from, I
power.
think, Tom
Oh,
and Joe, that a licensed person is qualified.
Bye, Sue, thank you.
Right,
Does that
a
mean?
licensed soil
No.
evaluator. or-
Basically, it's like as if it's the same as, somebody might, use a tissue, but then not all tissues are Kleenex type thing. You know what I mean? That kind of a thought
Okay,
process.
so
So,
this is-
Don't flush them down.
I say.
And do
I would-
not flush
I
them
would
down.
say a licensed soil evaluator or a professional.
I think qualified is the right term because they're not necessarily licensed, they could be licensed or registered, but it's qualified.
Right,
Yeah, but by whose standards? That's big, that's the biggest.
So
Being
if you're-
licensed or registered professional?
Well, there are licensed soil evaluators. Or a professional that can show specific expertise in soil science, groundwater hydrology.
how
Not
about
just a wannabe.
Yeah, exactly.
A,
a licensed professional
A
with,
a licensed soil.
are they all
Cause
licensed?
that's a specific
Yes.
category.
we want them to be. So we can say, a qualified one is a licensed
There's
professional,
others.
They're a licensed soil evaluator,
a licensed,
soil evaluator.
but you
or-
don't use the same term, you can't use a term in your definition. So a licensed professional with this,
With specific expertise in soil science, groundwater hydrology, and topography.
But that's the term, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's the term though, the term,
where I, on.
a Massachusetts licensed soil evaluator or a professional with specific expertise in soil science.
Would
What
you,
what did I say, how did I say it before?
is brilliant.
Brilliant.
Just put down what Tom says.
Yeah.
What Tom says.
A licensed soil evaluator or
This is gonna go to,
you had it before,
So we've lost electricity at my house
oh dear.
You can't go home, where's the house?
in Norwood.
Yeah,
My husband texted and then the children soon
Because it's-
after. Not only are they
Yeah.
hungry,
yeah,
but the electricity.
cause the storm went just off to the south here. Norway country.
No air conditioning. Gonna be just such a pleasant night.
You're gonna hang out in the office.
Oh God, you have to watch TV in the dark.
You have to charge my phone on the way.
but
Kim was going for the endurance award tonight.
I'm really trying to be done. We're literally at the
We know
end of the
you got-
definitions. We're almost there.
Seriously,
with
last
you.
page, last page.
We could FaceTime as we drive home.
What term are you?
qualified, well,
I'm looking to
she
divide
has
as
a definition of
qualified.
qualified soil evaluator, I'm saying it's a licensed soil evaluator. And then I said,
Oh,
we're
I
adding,
get you.
we're adding an extra in there saying that other professionals could evaluate soils too, other than licensed soil.
How about we do this? As defined in the Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook.
Is it in there?
Yes, it is. I just read that, so let me just make sure.
Oh, my.
So if they change it, we change it too.
Gee,
my gut feeling is that it's gonna refer back to Title V. That's my gut feeling.
Probably.
So it will be a circular.
Yep, just keep going round and round and round.
I'm sure it'll be coming up regularly.
And they're coming up with a new book, so very shortly.
Okay.
Oh, gosh. I just wanted to be done.
We doing 4 minutes?
I hope so.
Is that the drop dead time?
Yeah, the lights go out.
Don't make fun of me.
I turn into a pumpkin.
I have to go home with no lights.
I'd sleep in my
Make
car.
sure
for
your
a-
Do you guys want to jump
phone
ahead?
is charged.
Hold
It's only
on,
30.
what are we looking for?
You-
Qualified,
Yeah,
so. Qualified what?
soil evaluator.
Oh my God.
Oh. It's jumped into this.
Well, it's volume 1 of the stormwater management standards. Legal from- What is that? Hmm.
I'm doing a double search.
And do you guys want to review the other terms while they do that?
Sure, where are we?
Redevelopment?
Redevelopment.
I can't see the screen.
Oh, yeah.
Even smaller.
So it doesn't, it just says soil evaluation must be conducted by a qualified soil evaluator or a Massachusetts registered professional engineer with expertise in soils. How about that?
Perfect, love it.
Okay.
I didn't think this would be the stumbling block.
I
It was like, soil evaluation, yeah, but-
I know, really.
You never know.
Well,
This has actually been a long history of an issue since 1994 at least. Of who can conduct soil evaluations for septic systems. And you had like the soil scientists teaching the class, but they could never become a soil evaluator. Because they weren't engineers. So.
Oh, boy.
I'd like to.
And
Hold on.
and the reason why the state had trouble with it was because a lot of people would call themselves soil scientists without a
Degree.
real degree.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, I'm a soil scientist.
Right.
But
I have a lab.
you just made up initials after your name. But then there were, Peter Fletcher.
Yeah.
The people like Peter Fletcher who were just like, worked for the USDA and actually. Soil Conservation Services, like, brilliant guy
Mm.
and just, he taught the class.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes we trip over our
Yeah.
regulations.
But he'll never become a soil evaluator. what he was teaching.
Well, there are so many categories for engineering now, it's just, wow.
Yeah.
Now you got all these, you know, wind turbine specialists and
All right. Recharge. All right.
it looks pretty standard.
Good.
Reconstruction. Process of rebuilding or significantly restoring a structure, feature, or area that has been damaged, removed, or deteriorated. This typically involves replacing or reconfiguring existing elements to match or improve upon the original condition. We're good?
Yeah.
Redevelopment, the process of altering, improving, or repurposing previously developed land or property. It typically involves the demolition, renovation, or replacement of existing structures and infrastructure to accommodate new uses or to bring the property into compliance with current standards and regulations.
Fair enough.
Okay, responsible parties. Tom questioned what this is in reference to.
Yeah, good question.
Is that used in the document?
Wouldn't be there. Kim checked it all
Well, I'm a little, there we go. I am a little,
Isn't it just in context?
if the responsible party fails to act, the town may take necessary enforcement
It's pretty-
action,
okay.
including but not limited to. The applicant may also be responsible, no, that's just responsible, so that was in one
Responsible
place.
parties is,
If the responsible party,
it's the applicant.
Or permittee?
yeah.
Well,
Can
I
we
vote
say-
contact.
Yeah, instead of responsible party, we just say applicant or permittee?
I think we should just take the definition out.
Yeah.
Like,
out. Yeah, it's inconsequential.
Okay.
Yeah, because it may, in that case, it may not be an applicant, it may be someone who's,
it could be the owner who
or someone who didn't apply.
didn't apply, yeah. Runoff, the portion of water from precipitation such as rain or melting snow, or from human activities like irrigation that flows over the land surface instead of soaking into the ground. This occurs when the soil is saturated and the surface is impervious, such as pavement or rooftops.
Standard.
Or the water is applied faster than it can infiltrate.
Right.
Sediment is solid particles of soil, sand, silt, or clay that are eroded from the land and transported by wind, water, or ice.
Standard.
Sedimentation, the process by which sediment is transported by water, wind, or ice and eventually settles out of suspension, accumulating in a new location. Runoff carries eroded materials into waterways, detention basins, or storm drains, where the particles settle to the bottom. A site is any lot or parcel of land or area of property where land disturbing activities were, or will be performed. A small diameter drain. I don't know that we talk about small diameter drains
Yeah,
here.
but-
I think we talk about we're saving them for the regulations.
I think it's important to have some sort of reference in
Okay.
the bylaw for small, I know it's
Yeah.
kind of late right now, but. A connection, I think we need to, in our regulations, actually put in the small diameter drain requirements, but there's a way. There's a place to put it. Reference it in somewhere in the bylaw,
We don't have it in the bylaw right now.
yeah,
Should I take it out for right now, the definition?
no, but I think we.
We
you
could
want
have
it-
definitions in
I
the
wanted this
regulations.
place To,
We
give
could
the
have definitions in the
authority
regulations, right?
We're in regulation,
Yeah.
I think it goes in regulations.
yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Zap.
cut,
Soil.
hold on, notes. This is all my regulation notes. Paste, got it. Okay. Soil, a natural unconsolidated mixture of mineral particles, organic matter,
Back to see.
air and water that forms the upper layer of the earth's surface. The composition of soil can vary
Oh, back
widely
to
based on
soils.
location, climate, and organic content affecting its texture, sand, silt, clay, fertility, permeability, and drainage capacity.
Right,
Stormwater, water that originates from precipitation events such as rain, snow, or hail, which flows over the ground surface and into natural or man-made drainage systems.
We
Wait.
learned that one by now, or.
Before there's stormwater regulations.
so that can, oh, you have two spaces in stormwater.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, no, you're fine, I'm sorry.
Stormwater
Stormwater.
is
okay.
water that
Oh, yeah,
water
originates,
that-
yeah.
Um,
What am I doing again? Stormwater regulations?
Yeah, no, sorry, I read it the same way that Kevin did. It should be after stormwater then. But yeah.
I'm not in the S's. Can't be that much more, right? Come on. Have a heart. Stormwater regulations.
Accompanying regulations promulgated by the select board.
rules and requirements,
You don't trust this.
I really just want to copy and paste. I don't want to type.
I know.
Imagine why not.
Set of legal requirements typically adopted.
I wanna make one.
Designed to
revision, but
manage the
wait,
form.
I'm gonna hold off, I'll send it like as an email.
Alright.
Or something. Because, I'm thinking illicit discharge, illicit,
discharge on this.
yeah, it needs to be. Revised slightly in order to accommodate a connection. Of a sump pump.
Okay.
To the,
I brought
yeah.
the sump pump.
yeah,
Well, we were talking about.
under illicit discharge and connections, yeah.
So what are you saying about?
I'm sorry, did you say something?
I'm saying we.
Right.
Okay, stormwater control measures.
No social and non,
Should be an unpermitted.
Mm.
Connection.
Mm.
Or a connection that includes. Pollutants, whatever, however it's said. It doesn't say unpermitted, so I think that'll give us the framework to
Please tell me you guys are reading it,
do
because
the
I'm,
regulations for permitted connections.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
oh my God, we're almost there.
You understand?
That's like one in one brain, selling out the other.
Yeah,
stormwater management, the use SDM's designed. You're missing something, use of
Mhm.
SDMs. Waters of the common.
Again, another alphabetical thing. Stormwater regulations should go after stormwater management.
Okay, dokes.
Why are you going up?
Because I'm tired and I'm,
Well, go up.
Stormwater, regulations, go. Just before.
I see the end.
come on, guys.
It's inside.
We can
Come
do
on, we can do it, we can do
Waters
it.
of Needham,
Waters of the Commonwealth is defined on the state of Massachusetts. Waters of Needham, this was previous on our last one. All waters within jurisdiction of the town of Needham under the Wetlands Protection Bylaw, which is Article 6, apparently. Wetlands. Wetland is defined as freshwater wetland, marsh, bog, wet meadow, and swamp as defined in Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Town of Needham Wetland Protection Bylaw, or any successor statutory provision.
Awesome.
Should we say wet, protection bylaw or regulations? It's okay, we don't need to.
If conservation agrees, we're set on wetlands.
all right,
I am
would,
conservation.
I know, I don't mean to rush you.
Who's
So
gonna
moved.
car and bring
So
it up
moved,
front for
motion
me?
to adjourn, so moved, anyone
Second.
seconding, Josh is seconding,
Who motioned?
Joe,
Joe, Josh second.
Of course.
all right,
I said-
John Saylor, all right,
Thank God.
Josh,
Yes.
Sue, she's gone, I'm sorry, Janine,
Yes.
Tom Ryder,
yes.
Deb Anderson,
Uh-huh.
Trip Pace,
Yes.
Joe Prondak,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes, we are adjourned.
Okay, I'm
Thank
just
you,
gonna go
everyone.
through- I'm gonna go through this.
Good night.
as- For review and
Good
everything.
night.
Good night,
Yeah.
everybody.
Good night.
Could you send it to all of us as well?
course.
Copy.
Oh,
Right now?
it's on the, it's on a,
On the SharePoint.
Or,
yeah, SharePoint.
yeah, you resend the SharePoint link.
I booked mine like months ago.